Chapter 2814 This witch's nerves are abnormal. In a mountain depression, Yang Kai, Yu and others were quietly ambushed. Yu pointed to the front and said, "The snowflakes we want to collect are right in front, and those bone-eroding wolves are also there." Yang Kai looked up and found that there were indeed traces of the battle over there. There were bloodstains on the ground, the color was bright red, and the snow on the ground was full of messy footprints. "Witch Niu, let's bless my people with witchcraft together later. You are in charge of the left side, and I am in charge of the right side. Although there are 6 bone-corroding wolves, they are actually not difficult to deal with. Just be careful not to be bitten. We did the same thing before." Yu stared at the front, discussing the battle plan with Yang Kai seriously, but when he was halfway through the conversation, he suddenly realized something was wrong, and turned his head to look. Wu Niu, who was still next to him, disappeared at some point. "Where did you go?" Yu was shocked and asked his own people. The clansmen seemed to have just reacted. When they looked around in a daze, one of the barbarian warriors pointed forward with wide-eyed eyes and said, he. Yu looked in the direction of his finger, his expression changed. This idiot. This witch Niu actually swaggered past like this. Once those few bone-eating wolves were disturbed, it would definitely be a hard battle. She was thinking of cooperating with the other party and killing 2 of them in a sneak attack. But now it seems that this battle plan cannot be implemented at all. When he was about to call Yang Kai to come back, he saw Yang Kai suddenly standing on the mountain, opening his arms, as if he wanted to embrace the whole world, took a deep breath, and shouted enthusiastically, "Dear friends, I'm here. La. La 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 la." The echo echoed in this mountain depression, and the snow on the trees was shaken off. A few bone-corrupting wolves who smelled the breath of strangers came out of their hiding places vigorously and lightly, bared their teeth, saliva slid down the corners of their mouths, and their eyes shone with ferocious light. The usually quiet Yu suddenly twitched the corner of his mouth. "My lord, what should we do?" a clansman asked. "Withdraw." Yu made a decisive decision. This Wu Niu is a little mentally abnormal, why didn't he see it before? If he had seen it earlier, Yu would never have come here with him. Now that he is fine, if he provokes the 6 bone-eating wolves without any preparation, even if he is a sorcerer, he will surely die. Although he has the grace to save the lives of his clansmen, as the leader of the clan, Yu naturally cannot go crazy with him. Now I can only leave first. As for the grace of saving my life, wait for the clansmen to recharge their batteries for a while, and then come to avenge him. It can be regarded as an explanation to him. They were all moving like the wind, and as soon as Yu's voice fell, several barbarian warriors prepared to retreat under her leadership. When he turned his head, Yu glanced at Yang Kai with pity. After the bone-eating wolves appeared, they didn't stop for a while, but rushed towards him swiftly like the wind, opening their mouths so wide that they could almost swallow a whole sheep. Then Yu saw an extremely shocking scene. I saw the insane Wu Niu laughing loudly, punching left, punching right, punching left, punching right. Groups of blood flowers bloomed in midair, accompanied by the sound of the skull bursting and the short and rapid whimper of the bone erosion wolf. In just a split second, the 4 bone erosion wolves were sent flying, and their heads burst open in midair. Yu was stunned, and stood there stupidly, as if he had been immobilized by an invisible witch king. His small mouth was slightly opened, and his eyeballs were about to burst. "My lord." The few barbarian warriors who retreated quickly realized that their witches hadn't followed, and hurriedly turned their heads. The next moment, several barbarian warriors were also shocked in place. What happened? Why are the corpses of 4 bone-eroding wolves lying on the ground? Why did the heads of these bone erosion wolves burst open? At the moment when I waited for others to turn around, what was the truth? On the battlefield, the death of the 4 companions did not make the bone corrosion wolves retreat, but aroused their ferocity. The remaining 2 quickly rushed, jumped high, and rushed towards Yang Kai. 1 left and 1 right bite over. The huge body has the impact force like a cannonball. Yang Kai punched backhand, cracking the skull of the bone erosion wolf on the left, splashing his brains, killing him instantly, but his right arm was bitten by another bone erosion wolf. With a click, there was the sound of something breaking. Before Yang Kai could make any further moves, an ice-like thing flew over quickly, and directly inserted into the eye socket of the last bone erosion wolf, more than a foot deep. But Yu finally reacted, and supported an ice prism from a distance, a simple blow, showing Yu's strong background and rich combat experience as a top-ranked sorcerer. The bone corrosion wolf whimpered and let go of Yang Kai's arm. Yang Kai stepped forward, rounded his fists, and killed it with 2 punches. Taking a light breath, Yang Kai showed a disdainful expression on his face. You've been bitten, hurry up and get rid of the poison. Yu quickly stepped up, not caring about asking Yang Kai how to create a miracle, and reminded him. But as soon as the words came out, she was a little dazed again, because Yang Kai's bitten right arm was unscathed. How is it possible? I clearly saw him being bitten, how could he resist with the terrifying power of the bone corrosion wolf? Thinking back carefully, the clicking sound didn't seem to be the sound of his bones breaking, but the sound of the witchcraft shield being bitten. I see, he must have blessed himself with a shield of witchcraft at the moment of being bitten, such a fast reaction speed. Don't come here, Yang Kai suddenly shouted, his eyes flashed with excitement, he looked into the depths of the mountain, licked his lips and said, there is another big guy. What, you didn't know? So he glanced over there, and suddenly felt chills all over his body, his hands and feet were cold, and he lost his voice, Bone Corrosion Wolf King. Over there, a bone erosion wolf, which was a circle bigger than the bone erosion wolf just now, was walking towards this side, with a powerful aura that made you feel that his breathing was oppressed. How could there be a bone erosion wolf king here? Wolves live in packs, whether they are wild beasts or savage beasts. Although there are 6 bone-eating wolves gathered here, this scale is not enough to give birth to a wolf king. But you quickly understood, because this bone-eroding wolf king seemed to have been severely injured, with large and small wounds all over his body, and judging from the traces of the wounds, it seemed that it happened in the last month. This wolf king was exiled here because he was defeated in a group fight. The defeated wolf king will no longer be the king of the group, and will be replaced by a younger and stronger wolf king. But this is still not an existence that wizards can resist. The bone corrosion wolf king is a powerful beast that can rival wizards. Although it has not healed from serious injuries, its majesty remains. Run, Yu Chong Yang Kai roared, deeply regretting that he didn't retreat immediately. She wanted to withdraw at first, but when she turned around and saw a miracle happening in front of her eyes, she couldn't help but ran back, who knew that she stepped into the quagmire. It's really over now, and I and others are afraid that they will all die here. Now she can't blame Yang Kaido, she just blames herself for not checking the situation clearly when she waited for someone to come over before, and she didn't even notice a bone-eroding wolf king hiding here. The coercion and power of the wolf king was as terrifying as its substance, and you could only feel his body trembling slightly. Facing such a terrifying existence, that Wu Niu had a look of sarcasm and disdain. He stretched out his arms and shook his legs, and there was a burst of crackling explosions, and the people watching couldn't laugh or cry. And this action obviously angered the bone corrosion wolf king. He opened his mouth, and a ball of emerald green shot towards Yang Kai like an arrow from the string. Yang Kai raised his hand, the temperature of the air suddenly rose, and a huge fireball like a washbasin flew out. With a bang, the fireball collided with the poisonous ball in midair, making a noise, and immediately the flames splashed, and the venom shot out. After landing, there was a piercing sound immediately, and the snow melted one after another at an extremely fast speed. A huge hole. But when you and the others were stunned, Yang Kai took advantage of the Wolf King's unpreparedness and bullied him, launching an intimate and exciting hand-to-hand fight with the Wolf King. A group of barbarians from the Frost and Snow Department were stunned. You also stared straight at his eyes. Is this still a witch? Is this really a witch? Why is it that no matter what opponent you encounter, you always rush forward bravely and senselessly? It was the same when facing the 6 bone erosion wolves just now, and it is the same when facing the bone erosion wolf king now. How could there be such a witch? You only felt that her outlook on life was about to be subverted, and decades of cultivation and persistence collapsed in an instant. She never thought that a witch's fighting style could be so brutal and brutal, compared to the tribes those who are the strongest warriors will win. It can be seen that this Wu Niu is extremely skilled in hand-to-hand combat, and it is obviously not the first time he has done this, and he not only has the courage and carefulness of the most powerful warrior but also has the skills of a witch. During hand-to-hand combat, all kinds of simple and practical witchcraft are at hand, but they play an unimaginable effect at the critical moment. For a while, they are inseparable from the Wolf King, who is comparable to a wizard. My lord, what should we do now? This is not the first time that members of the Shuangxie tribe have asked you this question, but what they saw in front of them really exceeded their cognition, making them lose their ability to judge. Yu's expression only hesitated for a moment, then he said decisively, "Help." When the words fell, she had already sang the ancient and jerky language, and blessed several barbarian warriors with several witchcrafts such as bloodthirsty, lightness, and bone armor. The calmness hidden in the madness. After looking at each other, they approached the battlefield with a tacit understanding. But Yu took a light breath, and when he raised his hand, a huge ice edge appeared in front of his eyes. In this severe cold environment, the ice witchcraft she practiced can be gifted by heaven and earth, making it more powerful and easier to release. With a sound, the huge ice edge trembled slightly, and disappeared like lightning, and when it reappeared, it had already hit the bone corrosion Wolf King who was fighting with Yongkai, penetrating 3 points into his flesh. The Wolf King roared, and with a swing of his body, he shattered the ice edge. At this time, several barbarian warriors also surrounded him from left to right, swung their weapons vigorously, and slashed at the Wolf King. Every blow was powerful and mighty. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. This text is provided by AA Diaresis Update Group. Chapter 2815 Frost Snow City. After half a day, the dust settled. Yu was panting, his face was slightly pale, and he looked at the body of the bone corrosion Wolf King lying on the ground in disbelief. There were no casualties in this battle. Several members of his clan were even slightly injured, and the biggest reason to achieve this level is the witch cow with thin skin and tender meat. He entangled the bone erosion Wolf King with his own power, leaving the Wolf King with no time to care about him. He led several clansmen to inflict wounds on him continuously. After half a day of fierce fighting, he finally killed it. It can almost be said that the Wolf King was slowly worn to death. Looking at the Wu Niu who was groping in the corpse of the Wolf King, Yu had mixed feelings. Until now, she still couldn't believe that this victory came so miraculously. That was a Wolf King comparable to a wizard. It's not something my group of people can deal with even if they are seriously injured. But under the various methods of this witch and cow to turn decay into magic, the Wolf King has no strength to resist. How on earth did he do it? From the beginning to the end, he did not release any too powerful witchcraft. Most of the witchcraft he performed would be familiar to him, but they would definitely not be as effective as his. Ha! I found it! Yongkai laughed loudly, took out a bloody inner alchemy from the Wolf King's body, wiped it carefully on the snow, and put it away like a treasure. Immediately, without looking back, he walked to the other 6 dead bone erosion wolves, followed the same pattern, and took out the 6 inner pills. Yu calmed down his mood, and winked at his clansmen, assuming that even one person went to collect the condensed snowflakes. And Yu walked straight towards Yongkai, and said, Master Niu, do you really need inner alchemy? Yongkai played with his bulging cloth bag without raising his head and said, need it. If he wanted to accumulate strength quickly, he had to rely on the inner alchemy of the monster. Yu said, although I don't know what you want so many needin' to do, there is one place that you might be interested in. Where? Yongkai looked up at her. Frost Snow City. Yongkai raised his eyebrows and said, your city in the Frost Snow Department. Good. There are many needin' there. Yu smiled slightly. Frost Snow City is the only city in my Frost Snow Department, where 80% of the witches from the Frost Snow Department gather. Even witches from other tribes often appear in Frost Snow City, especially in winter. Frost Snow City is not disturbed by the winter, and is open all day long. In the city, there are a lot of transactions every day. It is not uncommon for the inner alchemy of savage beasts to be there. As long as you, Mr. Niu, can come up with goods of similar value, I believe other witches will be willing to exchange them with you. Oh, Yongkai rubbed his chin, feeling very moved. If Yu in Shuangshe City really said so well, then he can indeed go over and take a look. At least it will be much faster than he was looking for wild beasts in Lubai Mountain to kill and obtain inner alchemy. Of course, he didn't have anything to exchange for. How is it? Do you want to go and have a look? Yu strikes while the iron is hot, and can tell at a glance that Yongkai is already interested. Master Yu is so kind, I will be disrespectful. Yongkai chuckled. Yu nodded and said, then let's set off together later. At this time, the barbarian warrior who collected Ningxie also came back, whispered something next to Yu. Yu looked up at Yongkai and said, Master Niu, the corpses of these barbaric beasts. Do whatever you want. Thank you so much. Yu thanked, and then ordered several clansmen to dispose of the corpses of those bone-eroding wolves. If a sorcerer can consume the beast meat of wild beasts for a long time, it will be helpful to improve his own strength, So even if Yu is a top-ranked sorcerer, he can't bear to throw so many beast corpses here and waste everything, especially that the corpse of the bone-corroding Wolf King is a great food for great wizards. On the other hand, this Wu Niu only wanted inner alchemy and no animal meat. Yu had no idea what he was going to do. Although the inner alchemy is of high value, the most common usage is to make wine and drink it. And some pharmacists can also use the inner alchemy of wild beasts to make potions, but this witch cow doesn't look like a pharmacist at all. Naturally, this was not the first time for the barbarian warriors to deal with the corpses of monsters. Their techniques were extremely skillful, so in less than a stick of incense, the corpses of 6 bone-eroding wolves and a wolf king were cleaned up. 7 wolf skins, plus the most delicious and tender parts of these savage beasts, everyone resisted or lifted them, and returned with a full reward. After everything was packed, everyone set off immediately. Frost Snow City is not close to Lubai Mountain. Even if you go all out, it will take at least 3 days. This is on the premise that Yu has blessed everyone with the magic movement. If there is no magic movement, the speed will only be slower. On the way, Yang Kai asked Yu for some advice. This divine movement technique was naturally easy to learn, and Yu was quite shocked by his comprehension. 3 days later, a huge shadow suddenly appeared in everyone's field of vision. Several barbarian warriors, including Yu, couldn't help showing a sincere smile. Lord Niu, Frost Snow City is here. Yu pointed forward. Yang Kai looked around with all his eyesight, and couldn't help being stunned. This was the first time he came to the ancient barbarian city, but what he saw was completely different from what he imagined. He thought that since it was a city, at least it should have the appearance of a city, but there was no shadow of the city there, but a huge towering chalk tree, standing on the horizon. Even if it was far away, Yang Kai could still feel it. Seeing its majesty, the big tree covers the sky and the earth, soaring into the clouds. It is hard to imagine how tall it is. And under the canopy of the big tree, which looks like the sky, buildings are built in a haphazard manner on the ground, like a set of chess pieces that have been disrupted. It can be vaguely seen that many people are active in it. This is Frost Snow City. Yang Kai turned to look at Yu. Yu smiled slightly. That's right, this is Frost and Snow City. It is also the foundation of our Frost and Snow department. Have you seen the evergreen god tree? That is Master Qing, who is also the patron saint of our Frost and Snow department. Master Qing. Yang Kai's mouth twitched. You mean, that tree is alive? If it was alive, it would be a tree demon. But such a big tree demon is rare to see. Yu looked serious, and said seriously, Master Qing has gone through thousands of years, and he is immortal. If you enter Frost Snow City, Mr. Niu, remember not to desecrate Mr. Qing. Immortal and immortal, isn't that an immortal tree? But compared with this evergreen sacred tree, his own tree of immortality is simply the difference between an ancestor and a grandson. However, Yu told him seriously, and Yang Kai also realized that the evergreen sacred tree should have the highest status in the hearts of the people of the Shuangxie tribe, so he nodded immediately. I remember. Yu smiled again, and said, Lord Niu, don't worry too much. Lord Qing is tolerant of everything. As long as you don't intentionally blaspheme him, none of my people will make things difficult for you. While talking, several people had gradually approached Frost Snow City, and when they got closer, the shock of the evergreen sacred tree became more and more intense. The entire Frost Snow City was not protected by the walls and formations of later generations, but the huge tree crown was it encloses a place with a radius of hundreds of miles tightly, and the people of the Frost Snow tribe have survived for generations within the range protected by the canopy. Although it is winter, there is no snow in Frost Snow City, instead it looks like spring. Half an hour later, when Yang Kai followed Yu to the edge of Frost Snow City, he suddenly felt a powerful divine sense sweeping over him, and Yang Kai instantly frowned, looking around vigilantly but found nothing. Yu said, Lord Niu, don't be nervous. Anyone who enters Frost Snow City will be inspected by Master Qing. If they are hostile to the Frost Snow department, they will be expelled immediately. Yang Kai sighed. Master Qing is so powerful. This is not flattery, but the truth. The divine thought just now is even worse than his peak period. It can be seen that this tree demon is really an incredible powerhouse. Yu said. That's natural. Master Qing is the patron saint of our Frost and Snow department. He has been guarding us for thousands of years, but it's a pity. What a pity, Yu said sadly. I heard that Lord Qing fell into a deep sleep thousands of years ago, and no one can wake him up now. Then just now, Yang Kai was puzzled. Since he was sleeping, what happened to his divine sense? Yu smiled slightly. Even in a deep sleep, Lord Qing still has the ability to distinguish the enemy. Isn't this nonsense? Yang Kaixin thought that if he was in seclusion, unless he sensed the crisis of life and death, he would not be able to sense other things. No matter how powerful this evergreen tree is, it is impossible for him to do this degree. But people say it is, and Yang Kai didn't go to defend. While talking, several people had already entered Frost Snow City. Several barbarian warriors had experienced such a long time of travel and fatigue, and now they finally returned safely. They all looked a little excited, with a faint glory on their faces. But Yang Kai stood in this Frost Snow City, gave birth to a kind of long-lost feeling unexpectedly. The voices of yelling and bargaining in his ears gave him the illusion of returning to the astral world for a certain moment. Master Niu, thank you for your help in Lubai Mountain. We are going our separate ways here. I have to go to meet Master Wizard and hand in the mission item. Yu turned around and said to Yang Kai. You are busy with your work, don't worry about me. Yang Kai nodded. A barbarian warrior next to Yu Chong stretched out his hand, and the barbarian warrior immediately took out a water sack and handed it to her. Yu took it, and handed it back to Yang Kai. Take this, water the foundation of Lord Qing, and you can get a place to live. Yang Kai raised his brows. He recognized this water bag. When he was in Luobai Mountain, some barbarian warriors used this water bag to hold the blood of monster beasts. At that time, he didn't know what Yu and the others were doing with the blood of the monster, but now, it seemed that it had other magical uses. To be continued. This text is provided by the Dawn Update at CAA Cent. Chapter 2816 Opportunity has come. Phone reading. Yu led a few barbarian warriors from the Frost Snow Department towards a tall building. Yang Kai stood in the Frost Snow City, pondering for a while, not in a hurry to follow Yu's guidance to find a place to live, but started to make noise here. I wandered around in Frost Snow City, watching as I walked. The reason why he agreed to Yu to come to Shuangshe City was simply to get some inner alchemy as soon as possible. But now he has nothing on his body, except for the 7 inner alchemy of the bone erosion wolf. There is only a bag of wolf blood. But no matter which one is necessary for him, so Yang Kai can only check the market here first, and then make plans. He believes that with his own ability, even if the starting point is very low, he will quickly use his own advantages to bring about a snowball effect. Looking along the way, Yang Kai looked quite different in this barbarian rampant city. Without him, his figure looked too weak and did not have the beauty of a barbarian. So no matter where he went, he would attract the disparate and contemptuous gazes of those barbarians. Yang Kai has long been accustomed to this, and it seems that every barbarian who sees him for the first time will look at him with this look. Frost Snow City is really prosperous, even compared to those big cities in later generations. It is not bad at all. Among the disorganized buildings, there are countless stalls and goods. Witches from different tribes gather here. Yang Kai is a small low-level witch. Can't make it to the stage at all. According to the knowledge taught by the village head before his departure, Yang Kai identified the origins of those witches one by one. It is rare to see such a grand occasion where the world gathers in one place. This is a scene that can only be presented in Frost Snow City in winter. Because the cities of other tribes do not have the unique conditions of Frost Snow City in winter. This place is guarded by the evergreen god tree. Even in the severe winter, here is full of spring, and the cities of other tribes do not have such good conditions. Naturally, it can attract many witches to come here to gather and communicate. After the winter passed, most of these witches who came from afar would return to their tribes and cities. So every winter, Frost Snow City is the most prosperous city. Yang Kai continued to stay at the stalls one by one, inspecting the goods on those stalls, and bargaining with the stall owners. To his surprise, he thought it was in this ancient times. The way of trading should be bartering, but after some investigation, he found that he was completely wrong. This Frost Snow City actually has its own currency, a kind of green leaf-like thing, known as the existence of green coins. The village head didn't teach Yang Kai that there are green coins in this world, so Yang Kai deduced that this should be a feature of Frost Snow City. Green coins have no use for cultivation. According to legend, they are the fallen leaves of the evergreen sacred tree, which are neither rotten nor bad. But that's enough. There is an equivalent currency, which has a great effect on the circulation of materials. The transactions in Frost Snow City are open all day long. Yang Kai walked around for 3 days without stopping, and he already had a vague plan in his mind. 3 days later, he slowly walked under the evergreen god tree, took out the water bag that Yu had given him before, and poured out the wolf's blood. Watered on the foundation of the evergreen god tree. The bright red blood fell to the ground and was quickly absorbed. There was no drop, and the next moment, a green light shot out from the treetop, hitting Yang Kai's body. At the same time, an inexplicable traction force guided Yang Kai, as if an invisible big hand lifted him up. Slowly go up. After soaring tens of feet, the lifting force stabilized, and in front of Yang Kai was a small, clean and comfortable tree hole. This is where he will live for the next 30 days. People from outside want to find a place to live in this frost snow city. There are 2 ways, one is to live in a place similar to an inn, but that requires green coins. And the second type is like Yang Kai, using the blood of monster beasts to water the foundation of the evergreen sacred tree, and the evergreen sacred tree will choose a tree hole for the waterer to live in. There are countless tree holes like this on the towering evergreen sacred tree, and each tree hole is a natural residence, blessed by the evergreen sacred tree. No matter what you do in it, you will not be disturbed by others. The tree hole is not big, and it can barely accommodate 3 people, but it is enough for Yang Kai. The environment inside was also extremely comfortable. Yang Kai sat down cross-legged, perfecting his plan in his mind while practicing. On the second day, he walked out of the tree hole, slowly fell to the ground under the guidance of the evergreen sacred tree, and then walked straight in one direction. Not long after, Yang Kai came to a shop that specialized in buying inner alchemy, and took out all 7 inner alchemy in his hand and sold them. After a while, Yang Kai left the shop with a bag of green coins, turned around and walked into the crowd. After a stick of incense, after a hard bargain, Yang Kai reached a consensus with a strange stall owner to use 50 green coins to wipe out all the herbs on his stall. The stall owner couldn't help but be overjoyed, consciously met a big customer, packed the herbs for Yang Kai enthusiastically. After another moment, the same scene happened at another booth. It didn't take long for the green coins in Yang Kai's hand to be spent, but what he got in exchange was indeed a lot of common and low-value herbal medicines. He returned to the tree hole and took out all the herbs. Without careful investigation, Yang Kai took out a few herbs, and a bright and warm flame rose from Yang Kai's hand. He threw the herbs into the flame and concentrated on refining them. Just as alchemists in later generations were honored and rare, so did the status and number of pharmacists in this ancient era. Every pharmacist is a rare talent in the tribe, and the pharmacists of each tribe can only prepare medicines for their own clansmen. In this era, martial arts are not prevalent, and the art of alchemy is also being developed ignorantly. The preparation process of the masters is simple and rough, and they don't pay too much attention to it. They just mix a variety of herbs in one place and make simple preparations, which will not be able to exert the efficacy of those herbs at all. Yang Kai is an emperor alchemist, even if his cultivation base is sealed, even if his divine sense cannot be used, with his current means, he can refine anything casually, and he will not be inferior to those pharmacists from the big tribes. And these refined medicines are his way of making money, and also the starting point of snowballing. The times are different, and he didn't dare to do something too shocking, not to mention that his current strength is low, and it is impossible to do a perfect job in the refining process. However, the things he refined and configured are also the embodiment of tens of thousands of years of accumulated knowledge. It is impossible to be comparable to today's pharmacists. Half a day later, all the medicinal materials were consumed, and Yang Kai had a bunch of bottles and cans. In this era, jade bottles used to hold elixirs are also extremely rare, but Yang Kai did not demand too much. What he refined now is not elixirs, but a pile of paste-like things, which are stored in those stone jars. It doesn't matter. After tidying up briefly, Yang Kai left the tree hole again. In the most prosperous area of Aa Frost Snow City, there was a flood of people. Yang Kai sat down cross-legged in a corner, placed the things he refined in front of him, took another wooden board, used his finger to move the sword, and wrote a flamboyant. The big characters were inserted beside him, and then he made a high-minded look, closed his eyes and adjusted his breath. A barbarian stall owner next to him glanced at Yang Kai, then at the huge word, medicine, on the wooden board, and couldn't help but sneered. Are these black things that look like stinky mud also medicines? Did he really think of himself as a pharmacist? Pharmacists have always been honorable, how could they be reduced to setting up stalls? If it weren't for the witch's aura coming from this guy, the barbarian stall owner even thought he wasn't a barbarian at all. Unless the gods perform miracles, it is impossible for these things to be sold. The fact is, as he expected, for 2 days in a row, Yang Kai's booth was not visited by anyone. Although this place is quite a bustling area, the flow of people is endless, but every barbarian who passed by Yang Kai's booth just took a look at the paste. Then go away. However, Yang Kai was as motionless as a mountain, just sitting there cross-legged, not in a hurry, which made his neighbors admire his determination. In 2 days, his goods were basically sold out, and he was about to close the stall. Perhaps out of sympathy, the barbarian stall owner couldn't help but said, "You can't sell things like this." Yang Kai opened his eyes and looked at him, grinning and said, "In your opinion, how do you sell it?" The stall owner said, "You should at least yell a few times, although these medicines don't look very good, but if you yell too much, someone will come to patronize. The smell of wine is not afraid of deep alleys. I am a good medicine. Even if I don't drink it, people will come to buy it." The stall owner curled his lips, obviously not agreeing with this statement, although it sounded reasonable. He shook his head and said, "Unless a miracle happens, you will never be able to sell it in your lifetime." Yang Kai smiled and said, "There is no need for a miracle, just an opportunity." "Oh, the opportunity is here." While speaking, Yang Kai's eyes suddenly shone brightly. The neighbor stall owner was stunned, followed his gaze, and saw a few barbarians from the Shuangxie tribe walking towards this side, supporting each other. Seeing their bloody appearance, it seemed that they had just experienced a big war returning, and it was definitely an extremely difficult battle, because each of them had large and small wounds on their bodies, and the head of the person had a gash that was more than a foot in the abdomen, with blood and flesh rolled up, which looked extremely terrifying. What kind of opportunity is this? The neighbor stall owner was a little puzzled. Just when he was suspicious, those barbarian warriors had already passed by. But at this moment, the drug seller suddenly smiled and said, "Several strong men stay behind. I see that the heavenly courts of these strong men are full, the grounds are round, and the blood is full of heaven. They have some fate with this witch. Now this witch I have something to offer, and I hope that some strong men will accept it." To be continued. This book comes from A&A-C1/2. Chapter 2817 Shame and Humiliation. Alchemy and pharmacy is Yang Kai's old business, so if he wants to earn enough necessities with limited financial resources in an unfamiliar environment, then alchemy and pharmacy is the best choice. In Frost Snow City, those barbarian warriors who were covered in wounds stopped, and the leader turned his head to look around, then looked down at Yang Kai, and said with a stern expression, "You, talking to us?" Yang Kai smiled happily, pretending to be harmless to humans and animals. "Exactly." The barbarian warrior frowned. Although he didn't understand what the guy said just now, the last sentence couldn't be simpler. This guy has something for himself. Although it was unreasonable to miss the free gift, seeing this man's expression, the barbarian warrior felt a little distrustful, shook his head, turned around and was about to leave. Yang Kai hurriedly said, "This strong man is waiting." "What's the matter?" The barbarian was quite impatient. "Yang Kai Dao, the strong man is seriously injured. I happen to have some healing medicine here, and I would like to give it to the strong man for healing." As he spoke, he pointed his hand. The barbarian stared at the stone pots in front of him, frowned and said, "You call these medicine? Replacement is fake." The barbarian sneered with disdain on his face. The neighboring stall owner next to him couldn't stand it any longer. He tidied up his stall and prepared to leave here, so as not to stain his eyes any longer. "Try it and you won't lose money. It doesn't cost money anyway. If it works, it will be the best. If it doesn't work, you can smash my business," Yang Kai said with a smile. "Is this really medicine?" The barbarian warrior was a little curious when he saw that Yang Kai was serious, not just talking nonsense. "Excellent healing medicine. If it doesn't work, I'll really ruin your business." Although the other party claimed to be a witch, the barbarian warrior didn't take it seriously. This is Frost Snow City, and they are members of the Frost Snow tribe. "Then why are you hesitating? Hurry up and try," Yang Kai yelled hard. The barbarian warrior nodded, and squatted down in front of Yang Kai. Suddenly a stench came over his face, making him frown involuntarily. He couldn't help hesitating in his heart. He didn't know whether he should try this suspicious thing. Yang Kai earnestly and kindly said, "The good medicine is bitter, although our medicine smells almost bad, but the effect is nothing to say. I hope it is as you said." When the barbarian warrior spoke, he had a decisive expression on his face, as if he had made a lot of determination. he reached out and dunked some paste in a stone jar, and then under Yang Kai's instructions, apply carefully and evenly to the wound on your own abdomen. The wound was more than a foot long, and the flesh was rolled. Such an injury was not too serious for a barbarian, but it would be a troublesome thing if left alone. After smearing the foul-smelling paste, the barbarian warrior immediately raised his eyebrows, showing a look of extreme surprise. His companions also looked at him curiously, wanting to know if the medicine would work. A cool feeling clearly spread from the abdomen, relieving the pain. The next moment, the barbarian gasped in surprise again, as if he felt something. He quickly lowered his head to look, his eyes widened instantly. I saw the flesh and blood wriggling at the wound on my abdomen, and with the wriggling, many granulations sprouted on the wound, and the wounded place of flesh and blood began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye, forming scars. His companions obviously also noticed this. They all exclaimed, watching the changes in the wound in disbelief. The neighbor stall owner who was about to close the stall and leave was also dumbfounded at the moment, staring at him with wide-eyed eyes, as if he wanted to take off his eyeballs and stick them on the opponent's stomach to see clearly. The abnormal performance of the few people quickly attracted the passing barbarians. After they figured out what happened here, they all watched the change of the wound curiously. Half an hour later, the barbarian warrior who tested the medicine stretched out his hand and wiped it on his stomach, and the medicine dregs and blood coffee fell off, and a scar that was more than a foot long appeared in everyone's field of vision. Although it was not completely healed, but the miraculous effect is enough to make people breathtaking. One must know that half an hour ago, his wound was still horrific. It's really useful. When the warrior who tested the medicine looked up again, he looked at Yang Kai with a look of gratitude and reverence. Yang Kai smiled without saying a word. The medicine he refined is naturally useful, but it is only limited to these strong and bloody barbarians. If it is a warrior of later generations, the effect will definitely not be so good. Because a large part of the efficacy of this potion is to stimulate the surge of blood in the wound, so as to speed up the speed of self-healing. Only the ancient barbarians can use this healing potion to achieve such an immediate effect. "Are you a pharmacist?" asked the barbarian. "Let's count." When the onlookers heard this, they immediately put away their contemptuous expressions. No matter how weak Yang Kai's body looks, since he is a pharmacist, he is worthy of respect. Yang Kai raised his head, looked at the crowd on the inner, third and outer floors, and said with a smile, "Warriors often fight. If you encounter an enemy in the wild and get injured, it will definitely affect your combat effectiveness, but if you carry there is no need to worry about the future if you take the healing medicine of the shaman. The medicine of the shaman can instantly make you go crazy after the injury is cured. Sell it cheaply to you, eh?" If it was before the barbarian warrior tried the medicine, no one would care about Yang Kai's words, but after witnessing the miraculous scene with his own eyes, no one doubted the efficacy of the healing medicine. The pharmacist was right. It is very troublesome for barbarian soldiers to get injured in the wild. Although everyone knows a little about healing, how can it compare to other people's healing medicine? If you can take a little with you, you can heal your wounds anytime, anywhere, and the healing effect is surprisingly good. How to sell? Someone asked immediately. A set of 10 green coins. Yang Kai had already planned and immediately quoted the price. 10 green coins. The price is neither high nor low, any adult barbarian warrior can afford it, and it can also maximize Yang Kai's own interests. Sure enough, after the voice fell, countless people immediately shouted, "I'll have one." Looking at the heads in front of him, Yang Kai grinned, "This is all money." Several large pots of potions were sold out within less than a stick of incense. Those who bought them were naturally happy, while those who didn't snatch them beat their chests and stamped their feet in annoyance. Yang Kai closed the stall and said with a smile, "Today's medicine is sold out. If you want to buy medicine, please come early tomorrow." Turning around to leave, the neighbor stall owner looked at his back enviously, only feeling that this figure looked so unpredictable. Selling medicine once made Yang Kai's assets more than tenfold. As in the past few days, he took all his green coins and frantically scanned the stalls in Frost Snow City, and then returned to the tree hole to refine the potion. When Yang Kai came to set up a stall the next day, he saw countless customers gathered in front of the stall. "Some are things that I wanted to buy yesterday but couldn't get them, and some come from hearsay and inexplicable." A magical pharmacist appeared in Frost Snow City, and the potion he prepared could heal wounds quickly. The news spread throughout Frost Snow City overnight, and was confirmed by many barbarian warriors of Frost Snow tribe. People in this era are relatively simple, and there are not many intrigues. Naturally, it is impossible for the rumors that go viral to be false. So although Yang Kai brought 10 times more potions today than yesterday, he sold them all in less than half a day. His assets, as expected, completely snowballed, and there is a growing trend. This has been the case for 5 consecutive days, and the crazy momentum has no sign of retreating at all. This situation made Yang Kai happy. He silently calculated the wealth in his hands, and felt that he could call it a day in half a month. By that time, he would have enough green coins to buy enough inner alchemy. If one's low-level sorcerer's realm is raised to that of a wizard, then the ups and downs in the early stage will no longer exist, and the future cultivation will also be smooth. On this day, Yang Kai had just finished selling the medicine, and when he was walking on the streets of Shuangshe City to purchase some raw materials, he suddenly frowned, instinctively feeling something was wrong, and reached out to wipe his waist. His face turned black. The animal skin bag he used to hold the green coins was gone. The animal skin bag contained green coins for selling medicine today. There were thousands of them, and more green coins were stored in the tree hole by Yang Kai, so don't worry about safety. There are thieves. There are thieves in this era. If it wasn't for the empty touch on his hand that made Yang Kai understand that this was not an illusion, he couldn't believe his own judgment. Since entering this secret realm until now, the barbarians he has come into contact with, no matter they are good or evil, good or bad, are all simple-minded, straightforward people, so Yang Kai never thought that there would be stealthy people in this kind of place. Own purse. Without noticing for a while, the boat turned over in the gutter. What a shame. The dignified Emperor Senior Realm was touched by someone's wallet without anyone noticing. This shame can't be washed away even if all the water in the 3 rivers and 5 lakes is poured out. Yang Kai's expression froze, his eyes wandered in the crowd, and soon he locked on a barbarian with a big waist and a round waist. Interspersed with the crowd, the barbarian's clothes were relatively simple, regardless of men and women. This barbarian wrapped his whole body. It is so tight that it is impossible for Yang Kai not to see such a big flaw. With a soft snort, Yang Kai didn't intend to disturb others, and quietly followed behind this person while his figure was swaying. This guy was also vigilant. He turned left and right in the crowd, completely unconventional. After walking around for half an hour, he suddenly turned into a remote area that was rarely visited by people. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. This text is provided by AA Diaresis Update Group. Chapter 2818 Butterfly. Chapter 2818 Butterfly. The tall barbarian hid in a hidden place, took out an animal skin bag from his bosom, opened the bag and looked inside, and suddenly let out a low laugh. Thousands of green coins, this is a lot of wealth, enough for him to spend for a year. It's a good harvest. Suddenly, a voice came from behind, which startled the barbarian, turned around quickly, and stared at the speaker vigilantly, but the moment his eyes met, the barbarian felt guilty again. Without him, he recognized this man as the owner of the purse. In Frost Snow City, there are not many barbarians as thin as him. It can almost be said that this is the only case. But if you recognize it, you recognize it, and the barbarian didn't intend to admit it, so he put on a fierce look and said, "What's the matter?" Yang Kai was immediately happy, stole my purse and pretended to be okay. I have to say that your existence has subverted my perception of barbarians. What, your purse? It's the one you're stuffing into your bosom. Yang Kai watched his movements coldly. I don't understand what you're saying here. The barbarian put away the money bag as if nothing had happened, and said impatiently, "If it's okay, I'm leaving, don't follow me." Yang Kai was shocked, and cursed angrily. "Shameful thief, you are so arrogant. Do you believe that I called the guards from the Frost and Snow Department to clean you up?" The barbarian strong man looked at Yang Kai with disdain, and sneered, "You call?" He actually looked confident, making Yang Kai a little dumbfounded. It is obviously impossible to call the guards from the Frost and Snow Department. Although I believe that this guy is a thief who stole my money bag, but there is no real evidence. Calling the guards is a waste of time. And Yang Kai didn't want to bother others about this kind of thing. Tisk-tut twice, Yang Kai said, "Boy, you have offended someone you shouldn't have offended." The barbarian burly man still sneered. "Stop talking nonsense. If you dare to talk too much, I will kill you." While speaking, he raised his casserole-sized fist at Yang Kai, looking very intimidating. As soon as the voice fell, the barbarian strong man suddenly changed his face, because he saw that Yang Kai made a wrong step. and hit him with a fit, and a fist was rapidly enlarged in front of his eyes. Looking for death, the strong barbarian was furious. He never thought that this seemingly weak clansman would take the initiative to attack. Frightened and angry, he also punched out. The moment the two fists collided, Yang Kai suddenly let out a sigh, because he found that there was no violent force in front of him, and the opponent's extremely intimidating figure and fist were simply an embroidered pillow. In the astonishment and fear of the barbarian's strong man, the huge body flew out on his back. In midair, his sturdy body suddenly twisted and transformed into a petite figure with a bumpy figure. With a bang, it fell to the ground like a dead fish. At the same time, a green leaf fell from the sky. Yang Kai almost stared at his own eyeballs, and stood there for a long time without returning to his senses. Turning a strong man into a young girl with one punch is absolutely not my problem. While Yang Kai was hesitating, the girl who fell on the ground struggled to get up, and looked at Yang Kai with a look full of fear. Looking at it at this time, Yang Kai realized that the girl was only 16 or 17 years old, and she still had the aura of a witch on her body. Yang Kai couldn't tell what level of witch she was, because he had been in this world for too short a time. There are not many witches in contact, so there is no accurate judgment on the division of witches' power. After the girl's figure changed drastically, the clothes on her body became looser, but they still couldn't hide her proud figure, which shows how promising this guy is. Suddenly her original shape appeared, and the girl's expression was extremely flustered. Looking around, she quickly stepped forward, picked up a green leaf that had just fallen to the ground, and put it on top of her head. With a twist and change, he returned to his previous burly figure. "You are from the floating department." Yang Kai's mind flashed, and he broke the girl's background. "Blind? What nonsense." The strong man in the form of a girl dodged his eyes and retorted stiffly. "Really?" Yang Kai looked at the other party with a smile, as if he was holding a winning ticket. "Am I talking nonsense? What is the floating department? I am from the Yunshi department." "Hey!" Yang Kai chuckled a few times, and suddenly put his hands around the horn, put it on his mouth and shouted, "Everyone, come and take a look, there is a thief from the floating department here, everyone." "Shut up." The girl's expression changed drastically. She stretched out her hand, took out the money bag from her bosom, threw it directly to Yang Kai and said, "Return the money bag to you, don't shout." Yang Kai threw down his purse, looked at the girl jokingly and said, "You are not from the floating department, why are you so nervous?" The girl held on and said, "I'm not nervous. According to the knowledge taught by the village chief, the entire ancient barbarian tribes are basically beautiful in their strong bodies, but there is one tribe that is different, that is the floating tribe. The people of this tribe live without a fixed place, wandering, and there are very few people in the tribe, so it is rare for ordinary people to see them. They don't pay attention to cultivating the physical body, so the physique of the tribe is quite different from that of other tribes. If it's just that, that's all. The key is that the hands and feet of the people in the floating tribe are not clean. Every member of the floating tribe is a born thief, so the reputation of this tribe is very bad among the ancient barbarians." When Yang Kai walked, he was despised everywhere, on the one hand because his physique looked too weak to be respected by others, and on the other hand, it was also because someone mistook him for a member of the floating department. Yang Kai's experience is the epitome of the people of the Fuyu tribe. Yang Kai clicked his tongue twice, circled around the girl a few times, and said with great interest, "I've heard about the special features of the floating department, but I just saw it for the first time today, it's really interesting. Come on, let me see it again. Look at your real body." That malicious appearance made the girl's skin tighten, and she said in a trembling voice, "What do you want to do?" Yang Kai shrugged and said, "It's just a look, I don't want to do anything." "Don't even think about it." Yang Kai circled the horn with his hands and put it near his mouth. When he was lucky, the girl said, "Enough." A pair of eyes stared at him viciously. Yang Kai looked back with a smile. In the end, the girl was defeated. She reached out her hand to wipe the top of her head, and grabbed a green leaf. At the same time, the burly figure shrunk immediately and turned back into a girl's appearance. "You will regret it." The girl bit her red lips, as if she had revenge for killing her father with Yang Kai, and the anger of hatred was sprayed in her eyes. "That's all right, what a good girl, she has to pretend to be a man." Yang Kai chuckled. "I have seen the wild beauty of the barbarians, but the normal appearance of the girl is kind and comfortable." "Have you seen enough?" the girl said impatiently, then put the green leaf in her hand on the top of her head, and the next moment, she turned into a burly man again. Yang Kai shook his head and sighed, quite dissatisfied, but still curious, is this an illusion? Why didn't I feel the spiritual fluctuations of your witchcraft? The miraculous green leaf seems to have incredible effects. The green leaf is on the body, the girl's appearance changes drastically, and the green leaf reveals her body when she throws it away. Yang Kai originally thought that the green leaf was a prop for the girl to use illusion, but after thinking about it carefully, it was a bit strange wrong. The green leaves looked similar to green coins, they were obviously the leaves of the evergreen sacred tree, and he had never heard that such props were needed to perform any witchcraft. You can control it. The money bag has been returned to you, so what do you want to do? The girl was extremely impatient, and Yang Kai saw her real body. This was her biggest mistake. It can be said that this handle was pinched, and the girl I will be involuntary in the future. Fortunately, Yang Kai was not as despicable as she imagined. He just pondered for a moment and asked, "What's your name?" The girl was silent for a moment, then replied, "Butterfly." "My name is Aniu." Yang Kai responded with a smile. "Wu Niu, I remember, I have nothing else to go," Dai said. Seeing that Yang Kai had no objection, she turned and left immediately. Yang Kai watched her disappear, chuckled, and continued to buy medicinal materials. On the second day, when Yang Kai refined enough healing medicine and walked out of the tree hole, he did not fly down immediately, but controlled the direction and floated to another tree hole not far away, reached out and knocked on the tree trunk. Knock. A head popped out of the tree hole, looked at Yang Kai in amazement and said, "You, how do you know that I live here?" "This neighbor is the butterfly I met yesterday." Seeing Yang Kai again, and directly finding the door of his own house, Dai's eyes were full of panic. "I accidentally saw you coming back here yesterday. What on earth do you want?" Butterfly was in agony. Even if she was caught by Yang Kai for stealing a purse yesterday, she had nothing to be afraid of, but Yang Kai knew her identity from the floating department, but she was at a loss as to what to do. She has lived here for more than 10 years, and this is the first time her real body has been seen through. "Don't be nervous." Yang Kai smiled slightly, "I just need your help with something." "What's the matter?" Butterfly frowned. "You should know that I've been selling medicine these days, right? It's because you know, that's why you stared at me, right?" Dai frowned, answering with silence. "Now that I know it, it's easy to handle." Yang Kai handed over the jar in his hand while speaking. Dai didn't answer, but looked at him suspiciously. "What are you doing?" "Sell medicine for me, you should know the price, and you will get 10% of the profit." When Dai heard this, her eyes lit up, and she exclaimed, "Really? Everything is given to you, and there are fake ones." Butterfly quickly took the jars, overjoyed. "You must know that the Wu Niu in front of you can earn thousands of green coins a day selling healing medicines. If 10% is hundreds, even though the amount is not much, it is more above board than her theft." "Why?" Dai didn't understand. "It stands to reason that he stole this person's purse yesterday. He was so generous that he didn't bother him and didn't reveal his identity. Why should he share the benefits of himself?" To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2819 Grandpa Ching. Phone reading. Why? No barbarian would let such a good thing go, but why did it happen to him? Because I don't know anyone else. Please search #a C1/2 to read the most complete. The fastest updated novel. Yang Kai shrugged his shoulders and smiled. "And I have the handle, I am not afraid of you being greedy my property." The corner of Dai's mouth twitched slightly. She was right, as long as the Wu Niu in front of her was still grabbing her sore foot, she would not be able to do anything against him. But 10% of the benefits, these are irrelevant. After sending Dai away, Yang Kai immediately came to Frost Snow City, found a store he had been optimistic about before, and spent a lot of green coins to buy a lot of inner alchemy. The accumulation of this period of time has given him enough financial resources to buy inner alchemy to support his own cultivation, so he needs someone to sell medicine for him. After all, selling medicine is a waste of time. Returning to the tree hole, Yang Kai squeezed an inner alchemy the size of a longan and exhaled softly. The snowball in the early stage has already rolled, and in the future, as long as you buy some inner alchemy every day and refine it, after this winter, you will definitely be able to be promoted to a wizard. Yang Kai is convinced of this. Swallowing the inner alchemy into his stomach, Yang Kai began to run his skills, and soon there was a rolling thunder sound in his stomach, and his aura expanded at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the afternoon, Dai sold the medicine back, obediently donated 90% of the proceeds, and got a new potion from Yongkai, ready to sell it the next day. But only half a day away, Dai was a little surprised to find that the one in front of him was already a mid-level sorcerer. When I saw him in the morning, he was clearly a low-rank sorcerer. Why did he become a mid-rank in just half a day? But even though she was puzzled, Dai didn't ask too much. Everyone has their own secrets, it's not a wise way to get to the bottom of it, especially her little secret is still in Yongkai's hands. The two worked together seamlessly. Yongkai took a little time every day to refine the medicine and go out to buy inner alchemy, while Dai was in charge of sales and bought the materials back by the way. Time flies as a month. And within this month, Yongkai's cultivation made another breakthrough. The refinement of more than a dozen inner alchemy every day allowed him to increase his strength rapidly, and he is now a top-ranked sorcerer. As long as there is a sufficient supply of inner alchemy, he can definitely reach the realm of wizards very quickly. Have their own consciousness. At that time, we will completely get rid of the immediate predicament. However, good wishes always have some twists and turns. On this day, Dai didn't come back from selling medicine until the evening, and after entering Yongkai's tree hole, she put the stone jar in her hand in front of her. Yongkai asked in surprise, "Why is it not sold out?" In the past, all the medicines he refined every day were sold out, and this was the first time there was a surplus. Dai said weakly, "I probably bought everything that should be bought. Didn't you notice that I am coming back later and later these days?" Yongkai was taken aback. After thinking about it carefully, I found that it is indeed the case. He has been practicing these days, focusing on improving his realm of witchcraft, and has not paid much attention to Dai's situation. Now that she heard her mention it, he realized that what she said was true. In the beginning, she only needed half a day to sell all the potions she had refined, but as time went by, it took her longer and longer time. Until today, I didn't return until the evening. And the healing medicine hasn't sold out yet. As the market saturated, Yongkai rubbed his chin and muttered to himself. Although Frost Snow City is not small, and the number of barbarian warriors is also quite large, the market for this area has begun to shrink after more than a month of continuous sales. After all, it is not easy for barbarian warriors to earn some green coins. Although they don't have any pressure to pay for the healing medicine of coins, they won't buy it without limit. Under normal circumstances, everyone should keep a copy on their body for backup. When it's used up, buy a new one. Therefore, the longer the time passed, the more the purchasing power of the Frost Snow City barbarians would decrease. Thinking about this section, Yongkai nodded and said, "You take a break. Let's sell it tomorrow." Dai naturally had no objections. More than a month of getting along made her and Yongkai gradually get acquainted, no longer had the vigilance and fear of him before, turned around and left. Inside the tree hole, Yongkai frowned, "Since the market is saturated, then the healing medicines I prepared will become more and more difficult to sell, and the medicines will be difficult to sell, and there will not be enough green coins to buy inner alchemy, which will definitely delay my practice plan." But after much deliberation, he has no good way to improve the situation now, unless there is another city similar to Frost Snow City for him to use. But on this cold winter day, how could the entire barbarian tribe have a second Frost Snow City? Things did not go as expected by Yongkai. In the following days, the healing medicine became more and more difficult to sell. Yongkai's daily refining amount, even if it took a day to work hard, he might not be able to sell 1/3 of it, and gradually shrinking. And the inner alchemy he can buy every day is getting less and less. Although the realm of wizards is close at hand, but there is not enough inner alchemy to support him, he can only look at the ocean and sigh. In the current situation, we can only take one step at a time. First consume the inner alchemy in hand, and wait until then to make plans. On this day, Yongkai was cultivating, when he suddenly felt something strange. There seemed to be a pair of eyes staring at him in the dark. This made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Cultivation was at a critical juncture, and Yongkai didn't want to make troubles. He thought it was just an illusion, but he didn't want the feeling of being stared at to become more and more obvious. Hastily opening his eyes, Yongkai narrowed his eyes immediately, looking at a figure standing not far ahead. This man was an octogenarian, without the burly body that barbarians often see. He looked like he was dying of age. His hair and beard were all white. He just stood there quietly, smiling at the corner of his mouth, looking at Yongkai with great interest. Yongkai remained calm on the surface, but deep in his heart, alarm bells were ringing. How is this possible? The place where I live is the tree hole of the evergreen sacred tree. Blessed by the evergreen sacred tree, without my permission, it is impossible for the witch king and witch saint to enter, but the old man in front of me is silent, appear before his eyes. How could such a thing happen? But since the other party didn't show any malice, Yang Kai didn't make too much fuss, just staring at him quietly. In the tree hole, the four eyes met. The old man didn't speak in a hurry, but looked at Yang Kai with a sense of scrutiny, and nodded slightly from time to time. Yang Kai was stared at by him a little hairy, and finally couldn't help but said, "Old man, what are your plans for trespassing on the house?" Trespassing on a residential house? The old man frowned when he heard the words, and said with great interest, "This is an interesting statement, but my appearance here is not considered trespassing on a residential house." Yang Kai sneered. "This tree hole is where I live, breaking in without my permission is trespassing. I think you are quite old man, I am afraid that your head is not clear. Leave quickly while this witch is still able to speak, otherwise this witch will get angry. Don't say that I don't know how to respect the old and love the young." The old man smiled slightly. "What? You still want to beat someone up?" Yang Kai took it for granted. Using force when necessary is also one of the ways to solve the problem. The old man pondered for a moment, nodded his head in agreement and said, "What you said is also reasonable. I can't see it. You are young, but you have some knowledge. Hugh is too long-winded." Yang Kai waved his hand. "If you don't leave, I will be impolite." The old man hurriedly said, Don't get excited. I just woke up suddenly and noticed a friendly aura, so I just came over to have a look. I don't mean any harm to you." Yang Kai said disdainfully, "The jackal is also very kind to poultry." The old man smiled wryly, not knowing how to explain it. At this moment, there was a knocking sound from outside the tree hole. Yang Kai turned his head and saw the butterfly standing outside. He was overjoyed and let the butterfly come in. Although he has never really fought against Dai, but the time he got along with Dai these days let him know that Dai is definitely a powerful witch, far superior to himself in terms of realm. The last time she was able to knock her down with one punch was also because she underestimated the enemy. If she were really allowed to perform witchcraft, the current self may not be the opponent. I don't know how she cultivated at such a young age. No matter what the origin of this old man, if he appeared in his own tree hole for no reason, Yang Kai must treat him as an enemy. He was worried that he alone would not be his opponent, but now that the butterfly came, it would be easy to handle. With 2-1, even if they are still defeated, at least they can make some noise and let the people in the Frost and Snow department know. Dai didn't know the situation, so she plunged in, feeling extremely disappointed. "I didn't sell anything today." While speaking, he put down the stone pot in his hand. And the next moment, Dai widened her eyes, staring at the white-haired old man in the tree hole in astonishment. Yang Kai winked at her fiercely, but Dai ignored it, but stared blankly at the front, and soon, a surprised expression appeared on his face, and he opened his mouth and called, "Grandpa Ching, why are you here? Are you here to find me?" Quote. While speaking, he rushed forward, grabbed the old man's arm affectionately, and smiled sweetly. Yang Kai froze on the spot for a moment, then shuddered suddenly, and got goosebumps all over his body. Ruodi said such lines with a normal appearance, and it's okay to put on such an intimate face. The beautiful girl's acting like a baby is naturally pleasing to the eye. But now she is a burly man. This sudden movement made Yang Kai want to poke his own eyes, only to feel that the trauma caused by a full blow of a witch saint inside and outside his body was even greater. On the contrary, the old man smiled slightly and said, "Why are you here? Do you know each other?" There was an unnatural look on Dai's face, obviously recalling the scene when he and Yang Kai first met, but he still nodded and said crisply, "Yes, we have cooperated to sell medicine during this period and earned a lot of green coins." Quote. Selling medicine. Hearing this, the old man glanced at those stone jars, and immediately showed interest. He stretched out his hand to take a picture, but there was no power fluctuation coming from his body, and one of the stone jars flew over. He held it in his hand and looked at it carefully. To be continued. This book comes from A&A-C1/2. Chapter 2820 Tickling. Phone reading. Yang Kai's expression froze. Although this move looked simple, it also showed the old man's perfect control of power. Pin Shuang www. VODTW. COMA1/2A. He originally thought that by joining forces with Dai, even if he lost to the old man, he could at least cause him some trouble, but now it seems that he took it for granted. The old man's strength is simply unfathomable. If he really has malice towards him, even if he joins forces with Dai, it may not be enough for him to blow it off in one breath. The old man was obviously very interested in the potion refined by Yang Kai at the moment. He sniffed it for a while and was dissatisfied. He took a little out of his mouth and tasted it, then raised his brows, turned to look at Yang Kai and said, "This potion is prepared by you from?" Yang Kai nodded and said, "Not bad. Excellent healing medicine." The old man praised without hesitation, "But you can't use it frequently. If you use too much, it may damage the root." He could see the disadvantages of this healing medicine at a glance. After all, Yang Kai's medicine was only formulated with very common herbs. It is reasonable to say that it does not have such a powerful healing effect, but it can stimulate the vitality in the blood of the barbarians. The speed of self-healing becomes faster, and the bloodthirsty technique is also the same principle. Once or twice is fine. If it is too frequent, it will definitely damage the foundation and make people age faster. But this is not a big problem. After all, it is a trauma medicine, and it is impossible for someone to use it frequently. I didn't expect that pharmacists are so powerful today. The old man obviously became interested in the healing medicine, and he began to identify the medicinal materials used in it with the stone jar in his hand. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yang Kai pulled Dai aside and asked quietly, "This old man, who is this sacred?" Dai smiled and said, "Didn't Grandpa Qing tell you?" Yang Kai shook his head. Dai said, "Since Grandpa Qing didn't say it, then I can't say it either." Yang Kai stretched out his hand and said, "Hurry up and return the green coins you earned during this time." Dai was startled, jumped back a step vigilantly, and stared. "Don't think about it. It's mine." Yang Kai sneered. "It seems that you want to let everyone know your little secret." Being pinched to 7 inches, Dai couldn't help gnashing her teeth, and looked at Yang Kai with contempt. "Damn, despicable, shameless." Yang Kai sneered. "Change some fresh curse words. The young man has already guessed in his heart, why make things difficult for the little girl?" At this moment, the old man put down the stone pot in his hand and turned his head with a smile. Yang Kai frowned, took a deep breath, couldn't hide the shock in his eyes, and said slowly, "Although I have a guess, I can't be sure." The old man said with a smile, "Whatever you think in your heart is the truth." Yang Kai was shocked, looked at the old man in horror, and said in a deep voice, "This old man is really Evergreen Sacred Tree." The old man appeared in his own tree hole like a ghost. And Dai called him Grandpa Qing. With Yang Kai's meticulous thinking, it would be surprising if he couldn't think of anything, but although he had some ideas, he really couldn't believe it. The old man waved his hand slightly. "Sacred tree or something is just an exaggeration of the Ministry of Frost and Snow. Many years ago, I was just an ordinary evergreen tree. This for many years. It probably dates back thousands of years ago." Seeing him admit it, Yang Kai breathed a sigh of relief. Thinking about it, it is rumored that even the Witch King and Witch Saint can't break into the hole of the evergreen tree. The other party suddenly appeared in his tree hole. Apart from the evergreen tree itself, who else in the world can do it? Arrive. Because of this, Yang Kai has nothing to worry about. I have lived in the Frost and Snow department for so long, and although I don't communicate much with people, I have heard a lot about the legend of the evergreen tree. This is a tree of peace and a tree of protection. Naturally, he would not have any ill will towards himself. Senior Qing, please forgive me, but just now the kid uttered wild words, which offended me a bit. Senior is generous, please don't care about like the kid. Yang Kai clasped his fist solemnly. Qing he laughed. No need to do that, I have to take care of you, so how can I blame you? Yang Kai wondered. Senior and Dai. One is the evergreen sacred tree, and the other is the barbarian of the floating department. The two seem to have nothing to do with each other, but in fact, Dai seems to be very familiar with Qing, and even calls Qing Grandpa. 16 years ago, someone abandoned a baby girl under a tree. Qing didn't explain too much, just a sentence, and gently patted Dai on the head. Dai didn't seem to care, just giggling, enjoying the rare doting. Young Kairan, from this point of view, Dai was completely raised by Qing, so the intimate title makes sense. And Dai's illusion technique is probably also Qing's protection. Yang Kai was still curious before, what kind of witchcraft Dai used to change his petite figure into a burly appearance. After all, it was just a green leaf, but now it seems that it is not the witchcraft performed by Dai, but the power of green. Under the evergreen sacred tree, Qingning dominates everything, and giving Dai a green leaf with mysterious power makes it easy to cover up her appearance. Grandpa Qing, didn't you just wake up last year? Why did you wake up again so soon? Dai asked curiously. Hearing this, Qing cast her eyes on Yang Kai and said, I feel a kind breath. He said this before, but Yang Kai didn't believe it. Now that he said it a second time, Yang Kai naturally wouldn't doubt it. A friendly breath. Dai also turned her head curiously, looking at Yang Kai. Yang Kai's heart moved, and he thought to himself, could it be the breath of the tree of immortality? If there is any breath that can make Qing feel kind, it is undoubtedly the immortal tree. The immortal tree is the most precious treasure in the world. Although it is somewhat different from the evergreen sacred tree, it is still a tree after all. But this doesn't make any sense, since the boundless tree is still in the mysterious boundary bead, there shouldn't be any breath coming out. Although he had some doubts in his heart, Yang Kai couldn't explain much, as few people knew the secret of the eternal tree. Qing looked at Yang Kai seriously for a while, then shook his head and said, It's strange, this aura seems to have the same origin as mine, but it's very different. While speaking, he fell into deep thought, as if he was thinking about something. His expression kept changing. Change up. Yang Kai and Dai looked at Xiaoyan with big eyes, and it was not good to disturb the old man, so they could only wait boredly. Half a day later, Qing Kai suddenly came back to his senses, and said with a smirk, I'm old, I almost fell asleep again. Although he is old, he has actually been asleep most of the time, and this time he woke up is also a coincidence. Dai immediately said coquettishly, Grandpa Qing is not old. Qing smiled slightly, and said, Left and right are also awake, Shoutier can help Grandpa scratch it, I don't feel very well again. Okay. Dai's eyes lit up suddenly, as if she had picked up money. She turned her head to look at Yang Kai and said, Wu Niu, do you want to come together? Yang Kai looked blank, thinking that scratching an itch would actually help. However, since he was young, he didn't have the nerve to refuse, so he could only show his good character of respecting the old and caring for the young, and stepped forward, stood behind Qing, and stretched out his hands to scratch him. Butterfly froze for a moment, then burst out laughing. Qing also couldn't help laughing. What are you laughing at? Yang Kai stared at Dai with a displeased face. Even though he was working so hard, this guy was actually laughing, and his mocking face was simply too hateful. Dia Xiao's stomach hurts. She bent over and said, Tickle Grandpa Qing, that's not the way to scratch. You teach me. Yang Kai took a step back and motioned to Dai. Dai stopped laughing, but still had an uncontrollable smile on her face, looked at Qing and said, Grandpa Qing, let's start. Qing nodded, stretched out his hand and pointed forward, only to see that the not-so-large tree hole suddenly split apart, revealing a dark passage, and he didn't know where it led. Dai Chong Yang Kai said, Come with me. While speaking, he walked into the passage and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Yang Kai didn't doubt that there was him, so he followed directly. The moment he entered the tunnel, his body slid down involuntarily, as if there was a slideway laid under his body, leading him to an unknown realm. After a while, when Yang Kai stepped on the ground, the butterfly who came first had cast an illumination technique to disperse the darkness in the surrounding space, and then pointed to the surroundings and said, The reason why Grandpa Qing feels itchy is because of their existence, and our task is to clean them up. When the words fell, pairs of red eyes suddenly lit up all around. Yang Kai looked up and was taken aback. There are so many monsters. Butterfly said. They are all parasites on Grandpa Qing's body, and they reproduce very fast. I used to come here to clean them up once a year. This time, with your help, it's a good deal for you. Yang Kai said strangely. You also said that I am here to help, where is there any advantage? Dai pursed her lips and smiled. I see that you recently bought a lot of beast inner alchemy, which seems to be used for cultivation. There are so many beasts here, so you don't have any ideas. As soon as this remark came out, Yang Kai's eyes lit up. It was really desolate, and there was no way out, and there was another village. His healing medicine can no longer be sold now, and he is worrying about how to earn green coins to buy inner alchemy, but he doesn't want to have an opportunity right in front of him. The inside of Qing's body is like a big world, and in this world, countless parasitic monsters survive by absorbing Qing's power, and grow extremely fast. It can almost be said that these ones have different shapes and appearances. Monster insects are all inner alchemy. When the two were talking, the surrounding monsters couldn't hold back any longer. They swam out of their hiding places one after another, and came towards the two of them with their little voices. In an instant, Yang Kai and Dai seemed to have fallen into the world of monster insects, surrounded by 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside. Let's say it first, whoever kills it will be his, don't snatch me when the time comes. Dai warned Yang Kai vigilantly. When he raised his hand, 3 piercing airs had already struck forward. As soon as she made a move, Yang Kai felt a powerful wave of power coming out. Great wizard! Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. He never thought Dai, who had worked so hard during this period of time and was driven to sell medicine by himself, was actually a great wizard. Although she couldn't feel the specific rank, her power was definitely not what a wizard could show. To be continued. This book comes from A&A-C1/2. Chapter 2821 Summoned. As soon as the butterfly made a move, it showed impressive cultivation and strength. 3 bursts of piercing energy struck, and with 3 soft popping sounds, the 3 fat insect monsters that were scurrying over were instantly broken into 2, and the pale yellow the juice splashed out, and a disgusting smell filled the air instantly. More demonic insects rushed forward, spitting out balls of highly corrosive venom from their mouthparts. Butterfly dexterously moved and avoided to prevent the venom from contaminating its upper body. When it found an opportunity, it cast a powerful witchcraft, killing and injuring those demonic insects. No calculation. On the other side, Yang Kai also fit into the monster swarm. With his fists wide open and closed, he was as brave and senseless as a real barbarian warrior. The way of a warrior was completely opposite to Dai's elegance, but the speed of killing insects was astonishing. He was not inferior to the opponent at all, but his body was still dust-free, and all the venom and juice sprayed in front of him were blocked by the shield of witchcraft. In less than half an hour, a nest of demon worms was cleaned up. Without saying a word, the 2 began to search for Nidan among the corpses. However, after obtaining the inner alchemy, Yang Kai found that the inner alchemy of these monster insects had shrunk a little, not as round and full as the inner alchemy of the monsters outside, but all of them were crooked. The stored energy is also pitifully low. This is probably due to the environment here. These demonic insects live by parasitizing in the body of the evergreen sacred tree and absorbing the energy of the sacred tree. Although they can grow rapidly, they are definitely not as solid as the external monsters, and even the inner alchemy is not good enough. But it doesn't matter, there are a lot of monster insects. If the quality is not good, just use the amount to make up. Ever since he came to this ancient world, Yang Kai's appetite has been very good, and the monster beast inner alchemy that he refined and swallowed is not 1,000. There are also 800, as long as it can quickly promote him to the realm of a wizard, any inner alchemy cannot be missed. After collecting all the inner alchemy, Dai raised her head and said, "Grandpa Qing, the next place." When the words fell, another opening suddenly opened in the place where the 2 were located, leading directly to the next demon insect lair. After going to several places one after another, under the joint efforts of Yang Kai and Dai, those monster insects had no strength to fight back and were all strangled to death. Yang Kai suddenly realized a problem. Senior Qing can feel the existence of these monster insects. Why don't do it yourself? Instead, you have to rely on others. Although he didn't have much experience of Qing's strength, he still had some guesses. The parasitic monsters in his body were not powerful things. In the final analysis, they were just ringworm diseases. If he really wanted to, he could solve them by himself. But in fact, he has been asking Dai to help. Dai replied, "Grandfather Qing never kills." The corner of Yang Kai's mouth twitched, a little speechless. Although Qing's philosophy of life makes him somewhat disagree, but considering that this is a tree of blessing, Yang Kai can somewhat understand his thoughts. No more words at the moment, and together with Dai concentrate on cleaning up the demon insects inside the tree. In the past 3 days, Yang Kai and Dai didn't know how many monster nests they had visited. Although the quality of the harvested inner alchemy was still low, the quantity was inexhaustible. After 3 days of continuous battle, Dai was panting slightly, but Yang Kai was still fierce, causing Dai to startle him as a heavenly man. "It's almost there, the 2 little guys come back." Qing's voice suddenly rang in the ears of the 2 of them. At the same time, a passage suddenly appeared in front of the 2 of them, and at the end of the passage, there was a faint light. Yang Kai and Dai exchanged a glance, raised their feet and walked towards the passage. Not long after, the 2 returned to Yang Kai's tree hole. Qing was still standing there, looking at Yang Kai with a smile. "Thank you, young man. Helping others is the foundation of happiness, senior, you are welcome." Yang Kai grinned, holding his own inner alchemy and smiling broadly. With these inner alchemy, it is not a big problem to be promoted to a wizard. On the other side, Dai apologized and said, Grandpa Qing, when I get stronger, I will help you get rid of that insect king. Yang Kai was startled, raised his head and said, there is also the insect king. Dai said, otherwise, why do you think those bugs can't be killed? Every time Grandpa Qing wakes up, I have to kill them, but the second time I go, there are still a lot of bugs. Senior, you should have said it earlier. Yang Kai immediately put down his burden, and said with great interest, open a passage, I will go meet the insect king for a while. Butterfly looked at him like he was insane. Qing smiled and said, your strength is not enough, you are not its opponent yet. Dai also said, that is an existence comparable to the Witch King, be careful not to swallow you in one gulp. How strong the Witch King is, Yang Kai has never experienced it positively. The division of power in this world is very different from that of later generations, but in this ancient world, the Witch King is already a hero who sits on one side. Realm, proper emperor prestige realm. People like Dai are probably in the same Daoyuan realm. Being squeezed by Dai, when Yang Kai was about to refute, he heard Qing said, you have a guest, I've been waiting for you for 2 days, let's meet first. Yang Kai frowned, poked his head out of the hole suspiciously, and looked down, only to see a familiar figure imprinted in his eyes, walking anxiously underneath. Feather. Yang Kai didn't expect that the guest Qing said was actually her. Although he and Yu are considered acquaintances, and have even fought side by side, but after all, they are not familiar. After bringing Yang Kai to Shuangshe City, Yu did not contact him again. Why did she come to him at this time? Qing suddenly said again, young man, help me scratch my itch, this green leaf should be regarded as a thank you gift. While speaking, he stretched out his hand and twisted it, and a green leaf suddenly appeared between his fingers, flicked slightly, and floated towards Yang Kai. Yang Kai took the green leaf, but didn't feel any power fluctuations from it, curiously said, dare to ask senior, what is the magic of this green leaf? Qing smiled slightly and said, it's not very useful, but within the scope of my protection, I can return to your residence with a thought. So that's how it is. Yang Kai frowned, and solemnly put away the green leaf. Although the green leaf could only let him return to the tree hole, it seemed useless, but since it was bestowed by Qing, he naturally had to keep it. Qing didn't say any more, and disappeared in a flash. Butterfly seemed a little tired after 3 days of fighting. At this time, she also bid farewell and went back to her tree hole to rest. After the two left, Yang Kai rushed down to greet him, are you looking for me? Yu heard the words and raised her head, revealing a look of surprise, and cursed in her mouth, a blue light enveloped her, slowly floated up, and soon entered Yang Kai's tree hole. What's the matter? Yang Kai looked at her and asked. Yu was about to open his mouth to clarify his intentions when he suddenly looked Yang Kai up and down as if he had noticed something, and then he was shocked and said, are you a high-ranked sorcerer? How long has it been? It's only a little over a month when it's full. When I brought him back from Luo Baishan last time, he was only a low-rank sorcerer. How come he was promoted to a high-rank sorcerer after seeing him for such a short time? He has been promoted to 2 small grades in a row. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, you would never have believed such nonsense in this world. Her own cultivation has not changed at all in this month. Yang Kai shrugged his shoulders and didn't explain much. As the foundation of Emperor Senior Realm, there is no bottleneck at all in his practice of ancient witchcraft. He only needs to accumulate strength for a certain period of time, and he can make a breakthrough naturally. This is still the progress of his 2 inferior kung fu. The kung fu he used for cultivation was only taught to him by the village chief. How can there be any good kung fu in Kangnan village? If he was allowed to acquire a set of exercises practiced by witch saints, the speed of this practice would probably be faster. After being shocked for a long time, Yu came back to his senses, and looked shocked, and said softly, Wu Niu, Mr. Che wants to see you. Lord Che, where is the sacred place? Yang Kai frowned. There was a look of reverence on Yu's face, and he replied, Master Che is one of the great wizards of my Frost and Snow department. Why did the great wizard of your Frost and Snow department see me? Yang Kai was puzzled. It's not like he hasn't seen a great wizard before. Dai is a great wizard, but she has a sensitive background and never dared to expose herself, otherwise she would be a powerful person above 10,000 people. So although Yu said something solemnly and looked solemn, Yang Kai had nothing to be nervous about. Yu hesitated for a moment, and said, the healing medicine, is it really you who prepared it? Not bad. Yang Kai nodded and admitted. Yu was in awe. I didn't expect you to be a pharmacist. It's like this. During this period of time, many of our clansmen bought healing medicine from you, and they all felt that the effect was very good, so I, Frost and Snow Department, want you to pay more, configure a little as a backup. Of course, we will prepare all the materials for you, you just need to configure it. That's it. Yang Kai nodded after listening. If it was 3 days ago, he would be very happy to hear the news, because at that time it was the time when the healing medicine could not be sold, and he was worried about how to earn the inner alchemy. With this intention, Xuebu would not have to worry about not having enough green coins to buy inner alchemy. But now he has just gained a lot, and he is thinking of retreating to refine the inner alchemy of those demon insects, so that his realm can be quickly raised to the realm of a wizard. The sudden appearance of the Frost and Snow Department made him a little helpless. After pondering for a moment, Yang Kai said, "All right, you lead the way. Anyway, it doesn't take too much effort to configure those healing medicines, and it doesn't matter if you practice while refining medicine." Seeing that he agreed, Yu was overjoyed and said, "Thank you so much. The barbarians are a family." Yang Kai laughed. After leaving the tree hole, under the leadership of Yu, the two walked all the way to the most magnificent palace. In the ancient world, such palaces are rare. The places where barbarians live are always simple, and such palaces only the rich and powerful who have a good status will live there. The palace complex in Frost Snow City is the royal palace of the Frost Snow Department, and the Witch King of the Frost Snow Department lives in it. The great wizard named Che is also in this palace. However, with Yang Kai's current status, it is a great honor to be able to get in touch with a witch at the level of a great wizard, and it is impossible to meet the Witch King of the Frost Snow Department. To be continued. This text is provided by the Dawn Update at CAA Cent. Chapter 2822. Chapter 2822 Stealing a Teacher to Learn Art. Follow you all the way to go deep into the palace, until an hour later, he came to a tall wizard with strong aura. The piercing Yang Kai felt uncomfortable all over. "Lord Che, this is Wu Niu." Yu respectfully performed a sarcastic salute, not daring to lift his eyelids, and introduced Yang Kai who was standing beside Che. Yang Kai also did as the Romans did, stretching out his hands to support his chest, bent over and said, "Wu Niu, I have seen Mr. Che." Che nodded slightly, and when he spoke, his voice was muffled and thunderous. "Are you the witch who prepared the healing medicine?" "Exactly." Yang Kai raised his head and met Che's gaze. Che Rao said with interest, "It's hard to see a barbarian like you. Are you from the floating department?" Yang Kai shook his head and said, "Nanman tribe, I was born relatively weak." No witch or barbarian would deny his origin, that is contempt for himself, so even though Yang Kai looked weak and looked like a member of the floating department, since he said so, Che didn't question it. The corner of his mouth tugged, revealing a smile that was uglier than crying, and said, "A pharmacist doesn't need to be too strong. The healing medicine you prepared is sought after by my tribe, so don't belittle yourself." "Thank you for your compliment." Yang Kai looked neither humble nor overbearing, which made Che quite different. A high-ranked sorcerer who can face himself so freely is rare. Wait, didn't you say he was just a low-ranked sorcerer? How could he be a high-ranked sorcerer? Among them, there are 2 grades missing, and he believes that you will not make a mistake in this information. Although he was suspicious, Che didn't ask any more questions, but said, "I believe Yu has already told you the purpose of inviting you here." Yang Kai Dao. "You did say it, and I, Wu Niu, am also willing to contribute my own strength to the Frost Snow Department." A light flashed in Che's eyes, and he smiled and said, "Very well, since that's the case, you, take one yuewen. If you need any medicinal materials, feel free to report them." "Yes," Yu responded, and led Yang Kai to walk inward. Not long after, the two entered a wing room. To Yang Kai's surprise, there were already 2 people here, and they were old. Their auras were stronger than their own. Obviously they were all at the wizard level exist. The 2 old men, one with white hair and the other with flowery hair, looked at Yu inquiringly after seeing Yu and Yang Kai coming in. Yu nodded slightly, and the 2 old men came forward, and said in unison, "I've seen Mr. Niu." Yang Kai said in amazement, "These 2 are." Yu looked a little uncomfortable and said, "Master Che arranged for you to help. If you need help, just ask them." "That's right." Yang Kai smiled slightly, although he had some guesses in his heart. He didn't point it out. After all, it wasn't a big deal to him. Seeing Yang Kai's smile had a deep meaning, Yu's expression became even more unnatural and even a faint taste of guilt. Fortunately, Yang Kai didn't question much, he just said, I need some medicinal materials, please help me get them. Oh, okay, what do you need? Yu asked quickly. Yang Kai immediately reported the names of those herbs, and Yu memorized them one by one, and the two old men also raised their ears at this moment, listening intently, not wanting to miss a single bit. After a while, Yang Kai reported the names of various medicinal materials and the required quantities, and Yu immediately turned around and went out to prepare. Yang Kai and the old man were left in the room. Yang Kai turned his head and asked, what do you call the two seniors? The two looked at each other, shaking their heads and waving their hands in embarrassment, as if unwilling to reveal their names. Yang Kai looked amused, thinking to himself that the ancient barbarians were ancient barbarians, simple and unadorned, although they did not pay much attention to stealing a teacher to learn art, but their own conscience was probably condemned, so they did not want to reveal their names. Yang Kai didn't force them, but just found a place for himself, took out a handful of monster insect inner pills from the baggage he was carrying, stuffed them into his mouth, and swallowed them in one gulp. These demon insect inner alchemy, one grain is like a grain of rice, not only small in size, but also contains low energy. Yang Kai can eat dozens of them at once, and there is a strange sound in the abdomen, which makes those two come to steal the master. The old man who studied art was stunned, but the two of them didn't know what Yang Kai ate. They only knew that he should be cultivating, so although they were surprised, they remained silent and did not disturb. In just one stick of incense, Yang Kai had already refined the inner alchemy he had swallowed, and his aura suddenly became stronger. When he did the same thing again, the two old men saw clearly what he was eating. The white-haired old man turned pale with fright, and quickly stopped him. Master Niu, this is the inner alchemy of a wild beast, how can you swallow it? The flower-haired old man also stopped and said, you can't eat, you can't eat. I have never seen anyone who dared to swallow the inner alchemy of a wild beast like this, so he is not afraid of being strangled to death. I've always eaten like this. Yang Kai kept throwing inner pills into his mouth while talking, and there was a cracking sound in his mouth, which made the two old men's hair stand on end, looking at him like a monster. Would you like some monster insect smell, crunchy? Yang Kai stretched out his hand with a smile, and spread his palm. The two old men shook their heads like rattles, terrified. Fortunately, at this time, a large number of barbarians from the Shuangxe tribe suddenly poured in. Each of them brought a large amount of medicinal materials, and Yu was the leader, instructing those tribesmen to put the medicinal materials aside by category. After all the medicinal materials were placed, Yu Kai said, Wu Niu, everything you want is here, I will stay outside, if you need anything else, just call me. Thank you. Yang Kai nodded slightly at her. Yu turned and left, closing the door behind him. Yang Kai closed his eyes and adjusted his breath, refined the inner alchemy he had swallowed into his stomach, then opened his eyes and said to the two old men, then let's start. The two old men all looked solemn and got up together. 2 flower rain branches, 1 ground fruit, 3 wolfberry plants. Yang continued to report the names and quantities of medicinal materials, and the two old men immediately entered the state after being stunned. Among the thousands of herbs, he accurately found what Yang Kai needed, no matter the type or quantity. After a while, a pile of medicinal materials was piled up in front of Yang Kai. Yang Kai smiled and said, you two are optimistic. When the words fell, he casually picked up several herbs, and suddenly a ball of fire appeared on the other hand, flickering, and the temperature fluctuated. The expressions of the two old men suddenly turned cold. They didn't care about any shame or guilt. Their eyes were fixed on the movements of Yang Kai's hands, and they didn't move for a moment. They are all the most outstanding pharmacists in the Frost and Snow department, and they are all highly respected existences. They are really ashamed to be arranged by Wu Che to steal their masters this time, but they also know that the magical healing medicine has no can't configure it. Even though I know the ingredients of the medicinal materials, I still feel powerless. However, the potion mastered by a pharmacist is often a tribe's secret and will not be leaked easily. If they want to know how to configure the healing medicine, they can only cooperate with Wu Che, assist the Wu Niu in the name of an assistant, and then learn from it. Who knows, they have seen through their intentions long ago, and they have no intention of hiding them at all. They not only prepared medicines generously, but even deliberately taught themselves and others. Compared with the despicable practices of myself and others, this kind of mind and feeling is like a cloud of mud, which makes the two highly respected pharmacists more and more condemned by conscience. Guilt is guilt, but the two pharmacists were still extremely focused and persistent in refining medicine, so they waited and watched with bated breath at the moment, preparing to thank and apologize to this Wu Niu at that time. With an emperor alchemist like Yang Kai personally demonstrating and teaching, the secret of refining the healing medicine was quickly understood by the two old men. They are good pharmacists. It is not difficult to configure Yang Kai's healing medicine, but some of the refining techniques seem to be strange. The two old men only need to think about it for a while. After all, they also have profound medicine refining skills, heritage. So in less than a day, the two pharmacists basically mastered the preparation method of the healing medicine, and with Yang Kai's encouragement, they tried it out by themselves. Yang Kai didn't care about them, he was refining the inner alchemy, improving his cultivation, and only waited for them to check after refining, put forward his own opinions and pointed out their mistakes during refining. The quality of the healing medicines from the hands of the two pharmacists is also becoming more and more perfect. The days passed quietly, and in the palace, the old and the young almost forgot the passage of time. Although the two pharmacists from the Frost and Snow department are old, they are in high spirits every day these days, because the more they get in touch with this wizard cow, the more they realize the horror of the medicine knowledge that this young pharmacist has. Often a casual suggestion from the other party can make them feel suddenly enlightened and benefit endlessly. The healing medicine produced by them is no different from the one made by Yang Kai himself. In other words, this healing medicine will be a common medicine for the Shuangxie tribe in the future, and there is no need to worry about trauma. This is a major event that benefits the entire tribe, and the two old men are grateful to Yang Kai. 10 days later, the huge amount of medicinal materials you sent were all refined into healing medicines by the two old men. With such a large amount of healing medicines, the tribe would not have to worry about trauma for at least 20 years, and could even take it and sell it to other tribes in exchange for other precious cultivation and living materials. When the two old men were concentrating on refining the medicine, they didn't realize that Yang Kai's aura suddenly rose a lot at a certain moment, and at the same time, the monster inner alchemy he harvested was completely exhausted. Feeling his own situation with joy, Yang Kai opened his eyes slightly. The light in his eyes was like lightning, so bright and scary. The ups and downs in the early stage have passed, and the next cultivation will be a smooth road, and what meets me will also be a situation of rapid progress. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2823 Mysterious Shaoji Perfection. In the palace, Wu Che was holding a small jar of sticky healing medicine in his hand, and after a long silence, he raised his head and said, "You guys made these?" In front of him, the old man with white hair looked at each other, and the former replied, "Strictly speaking, it was refined under the guidance of Mr. Niu." "Wu Ke Dao, have you learned it yet?" Both old men nodded, and the white-haired old man said with some shame, "He has no secrets, and he is willing to teach us how to prepare these healing medicines so we learn quickly." "Very good." Wu Che showed a slight smile, and said again, "Then what do you think of this Wu Niu?" The flower-haired old man said, "Big heart." The white-haired old man said, "Be open-minded. Lane, I'll tell you what he's capable of." The two old men were silent for a moment, and said in unison, "No one can match." Che's eyes suddenly burst into light, as if a hungry beast had seen its prey, and he said flatly, "It's a pity that the Nanman department doesn't make good use of such an excellent pharmacist." After a pause, he rushed to the side and said, "You, take care, entertain him, make every effort to satisfy his demands, but don't let him leave the palace." Yu's heart trembled. He understood the purpose of the car, and said with a complicated expression, "Yes." The white-haired old man and the white-haired old man looked at each other and sighed slightly. They wanted to say something more, but when they looked up, the car had disappeared. On the other side of the palace, in a room that could be called luxurious in the ancient world, Yang Kai sat cross-legged, his spiritual thoughts surging, feeling the lost and regained power, and his heart was filled with joy. Sure enough, as the village chief said, after reaching the realm of a wizard, he did possess his own divine sense, and once he possessed the divine sense, all the restrictions that restricted Yang Kai's progress would be shattered. The space ring can be opened again, and many secret treasures can be sacrificed. For a while, Yang Kai only feels that this world is so big that he can break through it. He checked Mysterious Shaoji immediately. Mysterious Boundary Orb devoured so many broken laws in the 4th floor of the 5-color pagoda, and Yang Kai deliberately collected the power of the 5 elements. According to his speculation, The 5 elements are aligned to create the world, but he has never had a chance to go investigate the changes of the mysterious boundary bead until now. The soul and spirit body escaped into the mysterious small boundary, and Yongkai immediately noticed that this world was very different from before. Although there was no obvious change on the surface, the mysterious boundary orb had followed him for many years, and any slight change cannot escape his eyes. If mysterious Shaoji was an incomplete world before, then this world has been repaired completely at this moment. Yongkai can clearly feel that this world is full of various magical laws, based on the 5 elements law, mutual generation and mutual restraint, and mutual evolution, derivatives of all things, bringing together the 3,000 ways of heaven and earth. This is the real world, a world without any flaws. In the previous mysterious small realm, the laws were incomplete, and if the strength exceeded a certain level, it was impossible to make a breakthrough in the big realm, because it was impossible to resonate with the laws of heaven and earth, and it was impossible to gather and baptize the energy of heaven and earth. But now, this situation no longer exists. Even if someone advances to the Emperor Senior realm in it, there will be no hindrance at all. Yongkai was overjoyed, and carefully lingered in mysterious small world to investigate, feeling the joy that this newly reborn world gave him. And the perfection of mysterious small world seems to make his medicine garden more vibrant, and many exotic flowers and plants planted in the medicine garden are swaying and growing. Centered on the elixir tree, the amazing vitality brought by it allows countless herbs to flourish. What pleased Yongkai the most was that he felt a hazy will in mysterious small world. That is the will of the world, like a newly formed baby, ignorant and not yet sober. But Yongkai knows that as long as it is given a certain amount of time, it can fully grow up. And at that time, it was time for him to use it to comprehend the mighty power of heaven and earth and break through the shackles of the great emperor. This is also the original intention of Yongkai to go all out to repair mysterious small world, and now it seems that this step is right. He didn't leave mysterious small world in a hurry, but immersed his mind in it, turning it into an invisible force and spreading it out, like a parent, to communicate with the mysterious small world's ignorant will. Failure again and again, rejection again and again, Yongkai tried again and again. I don't know how long it took. Yongkai felt that the rejection of the world's will was a little weaker, and it seemed that he was gradually accepting his signs. Just when Yongkai was about to take it all at once, his eyes suddenly went dark, and his entire soul, the spirit body, disintegrated and returned to the physical body the next moment. Opening his eyes again, he became dizzy for a while, and Yongkai, who was sitting cross-legged on the bed, fell to the ground with a bang. With a splitting headache in his head, Yongkai's face turned dark, knowing that this was the reason for the excessive consumption of his soul power. Although he now possesses the realm of a wizard and has opened up his divine sense, he is still far from his peak period after all. Such unrestrained obsessions are a huge burden on himself. If he was at his peak, this would not be a problem at all, but now, it is a big problem. The sound of falling to the ground alarmed the guards outside the door. Yu rushed in immediately, seeing Yongkai's pale face and bleeding from his 7 orifices, his expression changed. He quickly stepped forward to help him up, opened his mouth and shouted, "Witch Niu, what's the matter with you?" Yongkai opened his eyes and looked at her, and after seeing her appearance, he waved his hand, indicating that he was fine, and took out a spirit pill to replenish his spiritual sense, swallowed it without any trace, and then sat cross-legged on the bed. Although Yu was worried, but seeing Yongkai's unhurried appearance, he was also infected, and stood by and followed him closely. What shocked her was that after a short while, Yongkai became so radiant that her eyes almost popped out. You can somewhat see the situation just now. It is obvious that something happened to this Wu Niu during the cultivation process. This is a fatal thing. Why is he safe and sound after such a short time? While she was in a daze, Yongkai asked, "How long has it been?" Yu was startled, but still replied, "It's been 5 days." It has been 5 days since Yongkai entered this room. Yu also came to check once before. Seeing Yongkai was practicing, he didn't have the nerve to disturb him, so he kept guarding outside the door. It's been so long. Yongkai jumped off the bed while talking, and after his body straightened, there was a crackling sound, stretching his waist and saying, "I'm done, I should go back." Startled, Yu quickly stopped him and said, "You can't leave yet." "What?" Yongkai tilted his head and looked at him. Yu thought about it quickly, and finally came up with a good excuse. "Master Che still wants to summon you." Yongkai frowned. Although he felt a little troublesome, he still said patiently, "Then take me to see Master Che now." Yu said with a stiff expression, "Master Che went out and didn't come back." I don't know when he will come back. Yang Kai looked at her, seeing Yu's eyes dodging, and he didn't dare to look at him. He couldn't help but smile. Barbarians are naturally not good at lying. A thief suddenly appeared in his mind, adding said, most of them are. Mr. Che is trying to keep me in the frost and snow department. After being pointed out by Yang Kai, Yu suddenly looked panicked, and didn't know how to explain it. Yang Kai stretched out his hand and patted her on the shoulder, and said, I have already taught you how to configure the healing medicine, and I will tell Master Che later. I don't like him like this, although I don't intend to be an enemy of the Shuangxie department. If you want to limit my freedom, the frost and snow department will probably have to pay some price. Although the tone was light, it made you feel cold all over her body. At that moment, she felt that what she was facing was not a high-grade sorcerer, but a sorcerer king, a sorcerer. Yang Kai walked straight past her, but Yu felt that his body was stiff, and he couldn't even turn around, and he realized that his body was a little out of control under horror. What witchcraft is this? How can there be such a magical effect? There were several muffled bangs, and the sound of heavy objects falling to the ground came from outside the door. Presumably the warrior guarding the door was knocked down. Yu sighed slightly. Although he felt a little regretful, he was also relieved. Mrs. Che wants to keep this Wenyu in the frost and snow department, and she can understand this plan. A pharmacist who can prepare that kind of healing medicine is already a huge fortune. If he can be kept in frost and snow, if all of them work for the tribe, it will be of great benefit to the tribe. It's a pity that Mr. Che hadn't had time to explain to him in detail. Wu Niu had already forced his way out, and the matter had come to this point, and he didn't know how to end it. In any case, there is no room for her to intervene in this matter. In Lubai Mountain, she accepted Wu Niu's favor, and she was not willing to use this method to deceive him, so she felt a lot more at ease. In the palace, wherever Yang Kai passed, barbarian warriors fell down without a sound. It wasn't until he was about to walk out of the palace that a tall wizard suddenly appeared in front of him. His aura was like thunder. Who is it if it's not a car? As the great wizard of the Frost and Snow Department, one of the commanders in the palace, Yang Kai has knocked down so many people all the way. If he hasn't noticed it, he is really negligent. Looking at the seemingly weak clansman in front of him, Che couldn't hide his admiration and surprise in his eyes. It is extremely rare to be a pharmacist with extraordinary skills. I didn't expect that this Wu Niu was so powerful. No wonder he dared to venture into Lubai Mountain alone in the cold winter and snow. I heard you report that he was alone. He killed 6 bone erosion wolves and a wolf king with his physical strength. Che still couldn't believe it, but looking at it now, it might be true. Why isn't such a person from the Frost and Snow Department? But it's not too late now. As long as he can be persuaded, he can be recruited to join the Frost and Snow Department. It is not unusual for a powerful witch to join another tribe in this world. And the best way to win someone over is naturally to do what they like. To be continuada. Chapter 2824 Thunder Realm. It's just that the time is short, and Che still doesn't know what this Wu Niu likes. He has been collecting information on Yang Kai for the past few days, but he can't find any useful information. A month ago, Yu entered Frost Snow City with Yu, and then lived in the tree hole of the sacred tree. If he hadn't prepared the miraculous healing medicine and sold it, I'm afraid it would be low-key and no one would care about it. Such a person should not be unknown, and should stay in the Frost and Snow Department, and then bloom with amazing light. Lord Che. On the opposite side, Yang Kai grinned and sarcastically said, is this the way your Frost Snow Department treats guests? Che's expression remained unchanged, and he said, since you appear here, it seems that you understand my plan. I sincerely invite you to join the Frost and Snow Department. I don't know what you mean. Yang Kai Dao. I can feel Master Che's sincerity. If there is nothing else, I have to leave. Che frowned, obviously displeased by Yang Kai's casualness and presumptuousness. Although they were not from the same tribe, but inferior witches must have the respect they should have when facing superior witches, but Che didn't follow this. Wu Niu felt the slightest respect. But this matter is because he is wrong, and it is not easy for Che to blame the other party. It is not authentic to arrange someone to steal a teacher to learn art. The other party is generous and willing to teach them all. If you stay here, you will have to look forward to Shu. If you have any conditions, you can just ask. If the Frost and Snow Department can satisfy you, I can agree to everything. Che didn't want to give up, and still wanted to keep Yang Kai for his own use. Thousands of money are hard to buy. I am happy. Yang Kai shook his head slightly, and said in a low tone, So far, I have no opinion on the Frost-Snow department, but if Mr. Che talks more nonsense, my sense of the Frost-Snow department will change. Gone. Hey, Che sighed heavily, raised his hand slightly and said, Wu Niu, I don't want to take things to this point, but since I can't speak, I can only leave you here first. I believe that if you live in the palace for a while longer, you will change your view of my tribe. According to what you said to you, a barbarian family, where is it not to work for the barbarian family? When the words fell, a bolt of lightning suddenly shot out from his palm, attacking Yang Kai with a crackling sound, and when the lightning traveled halfway, it suddenly disintegrated and turned into a grid, caught Yang Kai off guard. Open the hood tightly. The arc swam away, and Yang Kai was tied into a rice dumpling, his hair blown up. Che frowned. Although he didn't use all his strength in the blow just now, he only focused on trapping people and didn't intend to hurt the opponent. Surprised. The other party is just a high-ranked sorcerer. Logically speaking, he should faint now, but looking at Yang Kai's clear eyes, there is no sign of coma. Master Che. At this moment, Yang Kai said leisurely, it's not that I underestimate you, it's just that if I want to leave, I'm afraid you won't be able to stop me. At this point, the power grid covering him was suddenly shattered by a surge of force. Che's face changed, and he said in horror, Wizard. When Yang Kai made a move, he saw the details. This guy, how did he become a wizard? When I saw him a few days ago, it was clear that he was only a top-ranked sorcerer. In just a few days, he actually crossed the shackles of a big realm. That was a watershed for witches, and countless sorcerers were stuck in this watershed and could not make an inch of progress in their lives. Reminiscent of the information that you had revealed before, Che's eyes lit up instantly. I found a treasure. This is not a simple witch like a simple pharmacist. The strength of this witch cow has improved so quickly. It was only a low-ranked sorcerer more than a month ago. A few days ago, it was a high-ranked sorcerer. Goodbye this time. Is a wizard. Such a rapid improvement obviously shows that he has received the favor and gift of the barbarian god. If he is given a little more time, the great wizard, wizard king, and wizard saint will be no problem. There is no witch saint in the Frost and Snow department, and only a few witch kings, so there is still a gap with those top big tribes, but if there is another witch saint in the Frost and Snow department, the status of the entire tribe will be improved. Big one. No matter what, I can't let this one you leave today, and I have to keep him no matter what. Even if it makes him bored and hates him, I have to do whatever it takes to make him a member of the Frost and Snow department. The holy peak is when the Frost and Snow department shakes the world. While thinking about it, Che had already made up his mind. His breath was rolling, his body was moving with electric arcs, and he smiled and said, Wu Niu, this witch is getting more and more optimistic about you, please stay and become a member of my Frost and Snow department. Yang Kai snorted coldly. We were born as members of the Nanman tribe, and died as ghosts of the Nanman tribe. If you want to stay, I have to see if you have the ability. Che wanted to say something more, but suddenly his expression changed, and he raised his hand to congeal a shield of witchcraft in front of him. As a great wizard, years of immersion made him use this simple witchcraft to the peak. The strength of the hand is just right, not too much and not too little, without any waste. And such a shield of witchcraft is definitely not something that a newly promoted wizard can break through. I was full of confidence in my heart, but the next moment, Che's face changed suddenly. Because there was a clear clicking sound in his ears, and the witchcraft shield he had just planted shattered in an instant, and a not-so-mighty fist quickly magnified in front of his eyes. The shield of witchcraft is broken. It's hard for Che to imagine what kind of violent power is contained in that weak body. This kind of brute force is not inferior to the most powerful warrior of the tribe who is blessed with bloodlust. With a bang, Yang Kai punched the car on the face, directly knocking his nose to the ground, and when the blood spattered, the car flew upside down. Yang Kai did not have the slightest joy after succeeding, but instead raised his brows, revealing a look of surprise. As far as I could see, the flying car burst open with a pop, and turned into a dead tree amidst the surge of spiritual power. At the same time, thunder roared behind him, as if a powerful force enveloped him. The divine sense swept across, and the car appeared behind him at some point, suspended in the air, and a beast bone appeared in his hand. The beast bone was owned by some kind of beast, but it showed a purple light, flashing electric lights frequently. The car raised the animal bone and pressed it down towards him, and lightning bolts as thick as arms fell from the air, mixed with unrivaled power. Yang Kai stepped away from the spot when he made a wrong step, and when countless lightning bolts fell, huge deep pits appeared on the ground one after another. Che raised his eyebrows, secretly thinking at such a fast speed, although he had just fought against each other, he had already seen that this Wu Niu could not take it lightly. Although he had only been promoted to a wizard not long ago, it seemed that he was only relying on the powerful explosive power of his body, but such power, it's not something wizards can compete with. Unfortunately, I am a great wizard. It is a big realm higher than him. With a flick of his hand, an electric python flew out of the animal bones, shaking its head and tail, then biting towards the void, and when the snake's mouth opened and closed, Yang Kai's figure suddenly appeared there. Che Jing seemed to have the ability to predict the foresight, anticipating where Yang Kai would end up in advance, and successfully caught him off guard. Give up, with your ability, you can't compete with me. The Frost and Snow Department is looking forward to your joining, Che said with a sincere face. Yang Kai sneered, stretched out his hand to hold in the void, and a million swords appeared across the sky, raised the sword and swept across, and a series of sword glows flew out obliquely. The sword light was extremely sharp, it sliced through Lei Meng's body, broke it in two, and flew past the car's body, smashing a palace in the distance. The corner of Che's mouth twitched slightly, his eyes fixed on the million sword in Yang Kai's hand. Kangnan village is located in a remote place, there are no strong men in the village, and naturally there are no decent weapons. The villagers all fight with stone spears and axes, but the Frost Snow tribe is different. The powerful warriors in the tribe all have their own weapons. It is made of refined iron, and even some powerful warriors have witchcraft given by great witches. The animal bone on the driver can also be regarded as a witch weapon. He is not uninformed, but when he saw the million swords, his mind was still agitated. That sword is definitely a witch weapon, and it is a very high-level witch weapon. Che has only seen such a high-level witch weapon once, and it was owned by the Witch King of the Frost and Snow Department. How could a wizard have such a powerful wizard weapon? And with his power, he can use it freely. Even if he is a great wizard, he can't use such a wizard weapon. What he saw in front of him was beyond his cognition. Yang Kai pointed at Wu Che with his black hair flying in the wind, and said with a smile, Master Che, let me say it again, if I want to leave, you can't stop me, and if I keep getting entangled like this, I won't hold back. That confident tone shocked Che, but he gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, the Department of Frost and Snow needs you, please stay. With a stomp of the big foot in the void, a realm of thunder suddenly centered on him, spreading crazily in all directions, instantly enveloping a radius of hundreds of feet. In the realm, lightning flashes and thunder rumbles everywhere, as if the end of the world is approaching. Field, Yang Kai grinned. This realm of thunder is somewhat similar to the domain mastered by Void King realm warriors, but it is also very different. Tens of thousands of years have passed, making martial arts more prosperous, but it has also changed. The Thunder Realm of the car is stronger than any Void King realm that Yang Kai has seen. Even if the general Dao Origin realm falls into it, I am afraid it will take some effort. Che was obviously also hemorrhagic, his beard and hair were frantic, and he shouted, enter my thunder prison and be under my control, Wu Niu, let go, you know I don't want to hurt you. Yang Kai said disdainfully, that also requires your ability. Che shook his head and sighed. It seems that you must see the power of this witch before you can change your view of my Frost and Snow Department. Raise your hand and drink, bundle. Chapter 2825 Seniors Don't Make Trouble. Phone reading. When Wu Che's words fell, the surrounding thunder force turned into a squeezing force, wrapping towards Yang Kai, directly suppressing him on the spot. Please search a %IIC 1/2 to see the most complete. The fastest updated novel. Che raised his head and asked proudly, how? Do you need to think about it? In the realm of thunder, he has already controlled everything, and the Wu Niu in front of him will never want to turn over any waves. Yang Kai struggled a few times, but his figure was firmly locked, motionless, and he couldn't help but praised, not bad. Che frowned slightly, showing a strange expression. He heard the faint praise from the witch cow on the opposite side, which made him feel extremely funny, as if what he was facing was not a newly promoted wizard, but a witch king and witch saint, standing in the position where he looked up to, commenting on his leading role, means of pride. Why is there such a strange illusion that the other party is just a wizard? Then the next moment, Yang Kai took a deep breath, his chest puffed up, and the million sword in his hand shook slightly, and suddenly there was a wonderful fluctuation on the tip of the sword, making circles of naked eyes. Visible weird ripples. Where the ripples passed, the realm of thunder suddenly loosened, showing signs of collapse. Che was shocked, and he didn't dare to hide anymore. While shaking his body, he increased his control over the realm of thunder. He didn't use all his strength when he unleashed the thunder realm just now. After all, the other party's cultivation level was a bit lower than his, but who would have thought that this one would have the ability to shake his own realm? It was still in vain. The ripples rippling from the witch weapon sword seemed to have incredible power. No matter how much he controlled it, it still couldn't prevent the collapse of the realm. Cold sweat burst out from Che's forehead, and he looked at Yang Kai like a ghost, his eyes filled with horror. The million sword danced lightly, and the power of space law lingered. Yang Kai stepped forward, breaking through the boundary of thunder, and walked towards the car dealership step by step. In the martial arts world of later generations, warriors at the Void Returning Realm must master the potential field, and those at the Void King Realm must master the domain field. And when you reach the Daoyuan realm, you can communicate with the laws of heaven and earth, and as for the Emperor Prestige realm, you can control the laws of heaven and earth. Strictly speaking, the Thunder realm of the car is better than the realm of the Void King realm, and it also communicates a little bit of the law of heaven and earth. But the power that Yang Kai possesses is even better than him. If the car does not have a door to make an axe. Trying to use this Thunder realm to restrain Yang Kai, but to fight with him in real battle. Yang Kai may have to spend some hands and feet. After all, Yang Kai is currently limited by his cultivation, and the power he can display is limited. But he didn't know it, and wanted to crush Yang Kai with an absolute advantage in the realm, which gave Yang Kai a chance to break the game easily. The power of the space law is extremely mysterious, but now it is flooding the Thunder realm, causing the Thunder realm to crumble in an instant, and where Yang Kai passes by, the thunder light in the sky turns into a blank. All domains are smoothed out. The level of each other's realm is clear at a glance. The opponent's footsteps fell, and Che could even hear the sound of his own realm collapsing. The distance between the two is rapidly closing. The corners of Yang Kai's mouth were full of playful smiles, and Che's expression was no longer the calm and high-spirited before. When Yang Kai stepped on the last step, it seemed that he was not stepping on the void, but the heart of the car. A powerful wizard, Wu Che, one of the leaders of the Frost and Snow Department. The body trembled, and a cloud of blood sprayed out when he opened his mouth. The Thunder realm collapsed instantly. The boundary is broken. It means that the foundation is damaged, and he has been seriously injured. Before this, Wu Niu said that it was impossible for him to stop him. He thought he was talking big, but now it seems, he is telling the truth. How could there be such a wizard in this world? Yang Kai didn't feel the joy after breaking the game, but turned his head around and clicked his tongue. Depressed. It's really troublesome. While speaking, he took out a green leaf and communicated with his mind. When the blue light flashed, his figure had disappeared. In the depths of the palace, a terrifying aura seemed to wake up from a deep sleep. The appearance of this aura seemed to cause some incredible chain reaction. Soon, there were no less auras from all over the palace. It was the great witch kings of the Frost and Snow Department who were alarmed. In the whole palace, all the clansmen of the Shuangxie tribe were pale and trembling, standing with their heads bowed. A few powerful divine thoughts swept across. Che Chang endured the onset of injuries, stretched out his hands to support his chest, bent down and bowed to the void. I have seen some adults. What happened? The breath that appeared first suddenly spoke. The voice was erratic, and it was unknown where it came from. Che pondered for a while, and briefly described what happened before, focusing on Yang Kai's various inconceivables and his ability to configure medicine. The Witch Kings were silent for a moment, wondering if they had exchanged anything. The Witch King who spoke before said, "Since it is useful to the tribe, let's invite him over again." However, Lord Qing seems to be protecting him. "Don't you so disrespectful. Master Qing." Che's expression changed. Looking at the entire barbarian tribe, there is only one person who can be called Lord Qing by the Witch King, who protects the evergreen sacred tree of the entire Frost Snow City. He actually got the blessing of Master Qing. While hesitating, Che showed a look of enlightenment again. No wonder the previous Wu Niu suddenly disappeared. It turned out to be Master Qing's means and ability. He was still thinking about what happened just now. Thinking about it now, the other party seems to have taken out a green leaf before disappearing. The auras of the Witch Kings came and disappeared quickly, receding like a tide in the blink of an eye. Che frowned tightly, and his face was full of embarrassment. Lord Wuong wanted to invite that Wenyu over by himself, but that Wenyu was protected by Lord Qing. If the other party was unwilling, how could he invite him over? Before that, he still had the confidence to suppress it directly by force, but after having a fight with Wu Niu, Che felt that he had no such ability at all. That wizard cow cannot be regarded as an ordinary wizard at all. His strength is at least at the level of a great wizard, and can even be said to be at the peak of a great wizard. On the other side, using the green leaves to communicate with the evergreen sacred tree, after returning to his own tree hole, Yang Kai knocked on the trunk and called out unceremoniously, "Senior Qing." A figure flashed in the tree hole, and the old man leisurely appeared, looking at him with a smile. Yang Kai didn't talk nonsense, and said bluntly, "Thank you for your care these days, Senior. We will not change the green mountains, and the green water will flow forever, and there will be a period later." The Frost Snow Department hit him, although it was not to kill him, but to keep him in the Frost Snow Department, but Yang Kai didn't want to lose his freedom because of this, so it's better to go first. With his current strength, he has a good chance of winning against a great wizard like Shangche, but if he faces the entire Frost and Snow Department, he still has no chance of winning. He has alarmed the Witch King before, and if he doesn't leave, it may be too late. Moreover, his purpose of coming to Frost Snow City has been achieved. Now that he has been promoted to the realm of wizards, it is best to return to a remote place like Kangnan Village, with the help of the million inner alchemy in the ring. As long as he is given time, he can be promoted quickly. When he is strong enough, even if the Frost and Snow Department wants to keep him, they will not be able to. While speaking, Yang Kai looked out of the tree hole with his head, and the outside was calm and peaceful, with people coming and going under the tree. It was peaceful. Obviously what happened in the palace hadn't been reported here yet. Presumably, he teleported back to this place with Aoba. No matter how fast the Frost Snow Department reacted, there was still some buffer time. With this buffer time, it is enough for him to leave the territory of the Frost and Snow Department and fly far away. When the sky is high and the sea is wide, what will the Frost and Snow Department do to him? Let's go now. Qing raised his hand and said, "Senior, what else can I teach you?" Yang Kai asked curiously. Qing stretched out his hand to stroke his beard, and said with a smile, "I see that the exercises you have used these days seem to be extremely inferior. Do you want to change?" Yang Kai was stunned, and said happily, "Think about it." He also thought about it before, changing a set of cultivation techniques from the Frost and Snow Department. After all, his exercises were taught by the village chief, so there is nothing good for him. But after thinking about it carefully, most of the people in the Frost and Snow Department practice cold-based exercises, which may not be suitable for him, and he doesn't want to get too entangled with the Frost and Snow Department, so he didn't make any demands. Anyway, his current cultivation is different from ordinary people, and the inferior skills are inferior, so there may not be opportunities to change them in the future. Now that Qing said this, he was a little overjoyed. This is someone who will give you a pillow when you are drowsy. After a pause, Yang Kai said again, "Is there anything I can do for you, Senior?" Although he didn't have much contact with him, Yang Kai also saw that the elder in front of him was not someone who liked to give others benefits for no reason. "I rewarded myself with a green leaf. Perhaps it has something to do with him being the tree of protection. He protects the entire Frost and Snow Department. If everyone asks for him to give, then he would have run out of oil and the lamp would have dried up." So although he was delighted, Yang Kai still asked cautiously. Qing smiled and said, "I do have a small favor that I need your help with." "Let's hear it." Yang Kai waited in awe. Qing said, "If I tell you that my time is approaching, what will you think?" Yang Kai was startled, thinking that the topic had changed a little too quickly. His own thinking couldn't keep up. He glanced up and down at him, and the corner of his mouth twitched. "Senior, don't make trouble." Qing laughed loudly, and did not continue on this topic, but said, "You are a very strange person. I have lived for so many years, and I have only seen one like you. So I want to entrust you with something." Quote. "What?" Qing didn't speak anymore, but reached out and pointed at Yang Kai. Yang Kai was shocked, but he knew that Qing didn't have any malicious intentions, so he didn't put up any defenses. When the finger was on his forehead, Yang Kai only felt as if he was hit by a big mountain head-on, and he was dizzy for a moment. Paragraphs of extremely mysterious text. But in his current state, he couldn't see what those words were. When his eyes went dark, he fainted to the ground. On the eve of coma, Qing's voice came faintly from his ears. To be continued. This book comes from A&A-C1/2. Chapter 2826 Mutation. Phone reading. When Yang Kai woke up, he was no longer in the tree hole, but in a wilderness. The pain in his head still remained, making Yang Kai feel lingering fear when he recalled it. Although he has only just reached the realm of a wizard and opened up his own divine sense, his background is far beyond that of a wizard. Under Qing's finger, he was stunned. It was obvious that an incomparably huge message was sent, which made him unable to bear it at all, so he fell into a coma all of a sudden. He didn't have the time to check carefully what message Qing was sending, and when Yang Kai turned his head to look around, he met a pair of clear and bright eyes. After being stunned for a while, Yang Kai said, "Why are you here?" The petite girl shrugged her shoulders and said, "Grandpa Qing asked me to go out with you for a walk. He said that I have always lived in Frost Snow City, and I am too unfamiliar with the outside world. Is this what you entrusted?" Yang Kai rubbed his chin and muttered to himself. Before Qing said that he had a small favor to help him, and that he had something to entrust to him, but now it seems that Dai is what Qing wants to entrust. 16 years ago, Dai was abandoned under the evergreen god tree, and Qing raised her up, but Dai and Qing are different after all. It is impossible to live in Shuangshe City and not go out, but Dai's identity is too sensitive. It is not necessarily safe to go out alone, or you will be targeted. It will be different if Yang Kai takes care of her. Before she fell into a coma, Dai seemed to be mentioned in what Qing said. Thinking about this section, Yang Kai felt relieved. Anyway, Dai is also a great wizard, not much inferior to her current self. Even if she wanted to take care of her, she might not be able to take care of anything. Qing asked her to come out with him, probably because she wanted her to learn more. "Where are we?" Yang Kai got up and looked around, asking blankly. Butterfly said, "Grandfather Qing sent us out with a clone. This place is 500 miles away from Frost Snow City. It's on the east side of Frost Snow City." While speaking, Dai pointed to the side. Yang Kai turned his head and looked, only to see an evergreen tree that was as tall as a person over there. Standing on the side of the road, exuding the breath of the same source as Qing. Yang Kai raised his eyebrows. He looked at the evergreen tree with great interest. Dai said from the side, "Don't worry, the people in the Frost and Snow department don't know that you have left, and they probably think you are still in the tree hole. Senior Qing is a good means." Yang Kai praised. Dai smiled and said, "That's Grandpa Qing." The admiration for Qing was obvious in the words, and he turned to look at Yang Kai and said, "Where are we going?" "Let me take a look." Yang Kai said, took out the map that the village chief gave him, waited and watched for a while, found his location on the map, compared it to determine the direction of travel. When leaving the village in winter, he told the village chief that he would go back when spring came. Spring is not far away now, and his goal of going out to practice has been achieved, so it is time to go back. Kangnan village is remote and inaccessible, and it is a good place for retreat and practice. When he regains his peak strength one day, he can explore the world again. Not too late. Can it fly? Yang Kai put away the map and glanced at Dai. Butterfly sneered. At the same time as the curse sounded in her mouth, a pair of colorful wings suddenly appeared behind her, as if the girl had really transformed into a beautiful butterfly. Dancing lightly, beautifully. While the wings were flapping, the butterfly was already above the sky, overlooking Yang Kai, and beckoned, "Let's go, why are you so dazed?" Yang Kai put away the astonishment in his eyes, swayed his figure, and led the way. Dai left Frost Snow City for the first time, and was very curious about the outside world. Her beautiful eyes kept looking around, and her pretty face was full of joy. It was as if everything in this world was new to her. But she didn't bother Yang Kai, just enjoying the scenery along the way. From time to time, there was a sound of exclamation. Yang Kai was on the road while digesting the information that Qing had instilled in him before. "I thought it was just a piece of cultivation practice, but the more I looked at it, the more I was shocked, because this information is not something that can be summarized in a piece of practice. This huge information almost contains the essence of Qing Yisheng. Although Qing is a tree demon, he stays in Frost Snow City all the year round and never moves out, but his lifespan is tens of thousands or even tens of thousands of years. Stand firm. He has seen all kinds of people, experienced the changes of the times, and the surge of trends. The knowledge he has mastered is profound and vast, and he has the epitome of the entire ancient era. And the information he instilled in Yang Kai is all his knowledge and experience. Cultivation techniques in witchcraft are only second, and the most important thing is the essence precipitated from the endless lifespan." "What are you doing?" Yang Kai didn't think that doing him a small favor would be enough for Qing to give him such a precious gift. It can be said that such a gift, even the existence of the emperor level will be moved, and it will be of great benefit to one's future cultivation. As long as he can digest this knowledge, Yang Kai's future cultivation will be smooth. Yang Kai is sure that this must be the biggest benefit he has obtained in this trip to the secret realm, and there is no other thing that can compare with it. It is also thanks to the tireless teaching of the village head that he is familiar with these ancient characters, otherwise he would not be able to absorb this knowledge at all, and he secretly rejoiced. I am afraid that Kai will not learn ancient characters. Walking all the way, feeling all the way, Yang Kai didn't notice the passage of time at all, wishing to find a place to retreat now, digest the knowledge that Qing instilled. But no matter how long the journey is, there is an end point, not to mention that he just returned to Kangnan village. He was not strong enough to fly before, and it took a long time. Now he flew all the way back, and it took less than 5 days to almost reach the place. Yang Kai restrained his thoughts, and couldn't help but feel a sense of returning to his hometown, which made him feel amused. Dai also seemed a little nervous. Will the people in your village hate me? Will they drive me away? Should I apply a transformation technique to myself? After leaving the frost and snow department, without the blessing of Qing, Dai couldn't always show the appearance of a burly man. However, as a great wizard, it is not difficult to master a transformation technique. With her cultivation base, once she uses witchcraft, it is impossible for anyone in the village to see through. She chattered endlessly, looking like an ugly daughter-in-law going to see her in-laws. Yang Kai couldn't help but sneered, but when he was about to answer, he suddenly frowned and looked forward. The next moment, Yang Kai's complexion changed, his speed suddenly increased, and he threw the butterfly away. Hey! Dai didn't know what to do, and shouted annoyedly, but soon she also realized that something was wrong, because there was smoke everywhere in a place that looked like a village not far ahead. It's not time to start a fire and cook at this hour, so how can there be so much smoke? Frowning, Dai felt an ominous premonition in her heart, and speeded up to catch up without saying a word. After a while, when Yang Kai and Dai fell into the village, Dai turned her head and looked around, sighing in her heart. The village was attacked, and the walls were in ruins. There was still a lot of blood on the ground. Judging by the color of the blood, it should have been several days. This kind of weak village is easily attacked, and the entire barbarian tribe does not know how many villages are brutally wiped out because of such and such things every year. Sighing, Dai said, "It's not a beast, it's a human." Although I didn't check it carefully, it was obvious that there were no traces of wild beasts on the ground, and there were no traces of being bitten, so it was obviously not the work of wild beasts. And the battle should end soon. There are either a large number of people coming, or they are very strong, the latter is most likely. Although Dai has not been deeply involved in the world, as a barbarian of the floating division, tracking and retracking is her almost instinctive ability, so she can see a lot of information from the things left in the village. Do you have any enemies in your village? Dai asked. Yang Kai shook his head, spiritual mind surged like a tide in an instant, and spread wildly towards the surroundings. Feeling the power and vigor of this divine sense, Dai's eyes were full of shock. This kind of divine sense seems to be stronger than myself. In a short while, Yang Kai's eyes froze, and he galloped in one direction. Butterfly didn't know what he was going to do, but she still followed. Not long after, the two came to a pile of firewood. Yang Kai stretched out his hand to push aside the firewood, and precisely found a hole covered by a wooden board. When he lifted the wooden board, a few terrified and pale faces were immediately revealed. They are all children, there are about 7 or 8 of them, the oldest one is only 10 years old, and the youngest one is only 4 or 5 years old. After seeing Yang Kai's face clearly, the oldest man-boy showed a look of surprise and cried, "Brother Aniu! Come out first." Yang Kai stretched out his hand and said. The oldest barbarian nodded upon hearing this, and lifted one after another of his little friends to Yang Kai's hands. Not long after, several savage boys were rescued, but because they had been frightened for a long time, and the water and rice hadn't entered, they all seemed a little weak. What happened? Someone attacked the village. Yang Kai looked at the barbarian boy and asked. The village chief said that those people belong to the bone-eating department. Mantong bit his lip and said, as if recalling the scene of the previous few days, his body couldn't help trembling. What? Bone-eater? Yang Kai's expression changed drastically. Butterfly's expression also froze suddenly. The members of the major tribes of the barbarian tribe have different temperaments due to the different places where they live and the exercises they practice. For example, the people of the Furious Flame tribe are extremely aggressive, and the people of the Wood Spirit tribe are mild-tempered. But if it is said which tribe has the most bloody and brutal people, the Bone Eater is recognized as one. Without him, the people of this tribe, as well as those who are barbarians, can be used as food to satisfy their hunger. In other words, they are a tribe of cannibals. When there is no food, they will even kill each other to feed their own people, let alone outsiders. To be continued. This book comes from A&A-C1/2. Chapter 2827 Coincidence. Such a terrifying and ferocious tribe made all the major tribes of the barbarians stay away from it. Some people even thought that the Bone Eaters were not barbarians at all, but a group of uncivilized flood beasts. It was best to wipe out this tribe. It is a pity that there is a powerful witch saint sitting in the ministry of Bone Eaters. Unless the power of the entire barbarian tribe is gathered, no one is willing to lightly start a war with the ministry of Bone Eaters. Moreover, people from the Food and Bone Department must retaliate, so it is not easy to provoke them. Kangnan village was attacked by such an enemy, the consequences can be imagined. A lot of people have died. Brother Niu, hurry up and save the village chief. The biggest barbarian cried, looking at Yang Kai expectantly, as if to him, Yang Kai was omnipotent. How long has it been? Yang Kai asked in a deep voice. 3 days. For 3 days, I don't know if it's too late. Yang Kai didn't hesitate, turned around and asked Dai, take care of them. Dai grabbed his arm and whispered, what are you doing? Don't seek death. Yang Kai grinned, it's not certain who will die and who will live. Dai shook her head and said, 3 days have passed, you may not be able to catch up now if you go after it now. If you are captured by the people of the Bone Eater, there is only one end, being treated as food. Maybe everyone in your village has already. Then they have to pay the price. Yang Kai shook off her hand, made a wrong step, and flew away. Dai looked at his back, sighed and shook her head slowly. Several barbarians opened their mouths wide, looking at the sky in amazement, and the biggest barbarian said with admiration, Brother Aniu can fly. ... There are nearly 300 villagers in Kangnan village, regardless of men, women, old or young, all of them are soldiers. To capture such a huge number, the Food and Bone Department must send out a lot of people, so the traces they left when they retreated are also obvious. It is not difficult for Yang Kai to follow the trail all the way. When the snow on the ground melts, it is time for everything to recover. Shu Shigu's winter food reserves were almost exhausted, so he came out to look for food, and then accidentally discovered the remote Kangnan village, and took it as the target of attack. As far as Yang Kai knew, although the people in the bone-eating department had no taboos and even their own clansmen would eat them, they were still human after all, so they preferred to eat fresh ones. In other words, they did not kill all the captives at once, but only slaughtered their prey when necessary. This gave Yang Kai a buffer time to save people. As long as you stop them or find their lair and rescue them before the situation becomes irreversible, you'll be fine. When it was getting dark, Yang Kai came to a stone castle. The stone castle was built on the mountain, with a cliff behind it, smooth as a mirror, covering a wide area. Inside the stone castle, a burly and hideous barbarian walked back and forth carrying various weapons. Just like a ghost. And around the stone wall of the stone fort, there seemed to be some things hanging. Yang Kai looked at it with full eyesight, and suddenly he was about to burst into tears. The things hanging upside down are all corpses, roughly counting, at least there are hundreds of them. There are only 300 people in Kangnan village, and there are already 100 corpses hanging here. Yang Kai felt cold, and the chill radiating from his body was as strong as real. After all, it's still a step too late. Taking a deep breath to calm down his anger, Yang Kai stood up from his hiding place, ready to take advantage of the darkness and sneak into the stone castle to wait for an opportunity. Although he has now been promoted to a wizard, it is impossible for any other great wizard to be his opponent, and it is reasonable to say that there is no witch king sitting in this stone castle, but it is always right to be careful. At this moment, Yang Kai suddenly noticed something, and then leaned down again, holding his breath, and looked in another direction. There seemed to be some movement, although it was faint. Yang Kai could hear it clearly. Quietly releasing spiritual mind and sweeping over there, Yang Kai showed a surprised expression. After pondering for a moment, Yang Kai touched over there like a loach. After a while, an exclamation sounded in the dark night, "Who?" Just as the words came out, someone covered his mouth. Yang Kai put his hands on his lips, hissed, and comforted the barbarian warrior who was subdued by him. "Don't be nervous, I'm not an enemy." The barbarian warrior was terrified. Although the opponent only used one hand, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get rid of the restraint. After several struggles, he felt cold all over his body, his hands and feet were cold, and he was shrouded in despair. As the moonlight fell, the barbarian warrior suddenly calmed down, staring at Yang Kai with wide eyes, with a look of astonishment on his face. He mumbled, "Lord Niu." "Huh." Yang Kai was stunned for a moment. "Do you recognize me?" While speaking, he let go of his hand, and after seeing the tattoo on this person's face clearly, he suddenly said, "A member of the Fury Department." The barbarian soldier was pleasantly surprised. "That's right, Master Niu, we saw each other in the canyon last time." When he mentioned the canyon, Yang Kai immediately understood. His eyes lit up and said, "Here is the tooth. Just ahead, I'll take you there." "Okay." Yang Kai nodded. Although he had noticed that there were quite a few gatherings here before, and knew that they were friends rather than enemies, he never thought that he was an old acquaintance. Thanks to the barbarian from the Fury Department who recognized him, otherwise it would be quite troublesome to explain. Following behind the barbarian from the Raging Flame Department, he groped forward all the way, and suspicious looks kept coming from all around, as if he didn't understand why there was an extra person suddenly. After a while, the barbarian came to the front and yelled in a low voice, "Master Ya, Master Niu is here." Ya's voice came from the front. "Master Niu? Which Master Niu?" As soon as his voice fell, a familiar face appeared in front of him. Yang Kai squeezed out a smile and said, "Lord Ya, we meet again." Ya was astonished, and stared. "Wu Niu, why are you here?" The last time he was singled out in the canyon, this Wu Niu left a deep impression on Ya, and it was only one winter, so naturally he would not forget it. Yang Kai said in a deep voice, "It should be the same reason as you." Ya was stunned for a moment, showing a sudden expression. "It seems that your village has also been attacked." "Why were you also attacked?" Ya said with a sullen face. "I took some people from my tribe out to search for food. When I came back, all the villagers were taken away, and I followed the traces to this place. Then we have the same goal." Yang Kai grinned, revealing a mouthful of snow-white fangs. Under the shadow of the moonlight, it was extremely gloomy, which surprised the teeth, and changed the subject. "Are you alone?" "I'm the only one left in the village who can fight." Teeth showed admiration. "Yi Sisi, if he is the only one left in his village, Ya may not have the courage to follow all the way here. The opponent represents the brutal and bloody Bone Eater. He may not be gone when he comes. Come with me, I'll take you to meet some adults." Ya said, beckoning to Yang Kai, and then bowed his waist to lead the way. Yang Kai was suspicious. He didn't know who he was going to take him to meet, but he could only keep up. Not long after, a deep voice suddenly came from the front. "Ya, what are you doing here?" Ya respectfully replied, "Lord Kai, a friend from the Southern Man tribe has come over, and his villagers have also been kidnapped by Yu's tribe." "Oh." The person called Kai seemed a little surprised, and said, "Come here." The teeth responded, and then gestured to Yang Kai, leading him forward. Among the dense grass, a man and a woman sat cross-legged. Their breath was strong but not leaking, as if they were integrated with the surrounding nature. Two great wizards. Yang Kai raised his eyebrows, revealing a surprised expression. That man should be red, because he has a tattoo of the Flame Department on his face, and his aura is a little hot. He has obviously practiced witchcraft and witchcraft of the fire element. People have an elegant and agile feeling. The combination of this temperament and body shape looks extremely contradictory and funny. When Yang Kai came over, the sharp eyes of the two people immediately cast over, with a kind of scrutiny which made people feel extremely uncomfortable. "Wu Niu of Kangnan Village, I have seen two adults." Yang Kai stretched out his hand to support his chest. Yu Kai nodded slightly, approvingly said, "Wizard, it's not bad." "What sorcerer?" Ya was stunned for a moment, wondering if this sorcerer is not a top-ranked sorcerer. Did Lord Kai miss the point? But he didn't know that it was only one winter, and this witch cow had already reached the realm of a wizard from the realm of a high-rank wizard. If you know, I'm afraid you will shout that the law of heaven is unfair. How could there be such a thin and small clansman? You wouldn't be from the floating department, would you? The woman frowned, not hiding her disgust towards Yang Kai in her eyes. Before Yang Kai could speak, he said, "Wu Niu is not from the floating department, he is from the Nanman department. He is generous. How can those thieves from the floating department compare to him?" He still remembered the kindness that Yang Kai gave him 100 beasts last time. "This is the best." The woman nodded slightly, apparently not doubting Ya's words. What's the name of this lord? Yang Kai looked at the woman and asked. Equator. She is Master Bamboo from the Storm Department. Ya whispered. This time the Ministry of Food and Bone dispatched and plundered 3 villages in total. One is your village, one is mine, and the other is from the Ministry of Storms. I found Master Kai, who just happened to encounter Bamboo my lord, so we are all together. Many people are powerful. Yang Kai nodded, and said, I would like to ask, how do the 2 adults plan to act? Equator. Wait for dawn. Yang Kai pondered and said. Dawn is the time when people are most relaxed, and it is indeed the best time to act, but the 2 adults are great wizards, don't they have the confidence to take that stone castle head on? Zhu took a look at him and said, how much do you know about this stone castle? Yang Kai said honestly, I don't know anything. Before that, he didn't even know that there was a bone-eater tribe here. Zhu Dao. This stone castle is a small tribe of the Food and Bone Department, with a population of about 700 to 800 people. There are more than 20 witches in total, and the strongest one is called Yu. He has the realm of a middle-rank great wizard. Quote. Yang Kai noticed that when Zhu mentioned Yu, Chi's expression became visibly apprehensive, and he obviously felt that he was not the opponent of the great wizard of the Bone Eater. A to be continuada. Chapter 2828 Night Attack. Chapter 2828 Night Attack. Yi Yu's strength. Even if I join forces with Kai, he may not necessarily be his opponent. Zhu explained calmly, not feeling ashamed because his strength is inferior to others. Fortunately, the main purpose this time is to save people. When the time comes, as long as Kai and I entangle him, the rest of you can rescue the clansman, and there is no need to share life and death with him. After a pause, Zhu said again, you are a wizard, and you can help a lot in the battle. Since your clansmen have also been taken away, let's act together at that time. Ya's expression was shocked, he could hardly believe his ears, and looked at Yang Kai in horror. Wizard, is it really a wizard? Just now he thought that Master Kai was mistaken, but now that Master Zhu said the same thing, there is only one possibility a Wu Niu is really a wizard. Yang Kai nodded and asked, the 2 adults are planning to sneak attack at dawn, right? Good, if this is the case, I may be able to help even more. Yang Kai's eyes flickered. Kai raised his eyebrows and said, let's hear it. After a while, Ya and Yang Kai retreated. Yapo was a little lost, as if he had suffered some huge blow, and it took him a long time to recover. Lord Niu, be careful in everything. Yang Kai smiled and patted his shoulder, you too. When the words fell, the curse sounded in his mouth, and when the witch power surged, his body seemed to turn into a vortex, absorbing the moonlight pouring down from the sky, and the tooth standing in front of him was surprised to find that, with the influx of that moonlight, Yang Kai's figure gradually became transparent and then disappeared. There was a sound of rustling footsteps from near to far. Ya knew that the witch must have left, but seeing him perform such a magical witchcraft with his own eyes, Ya was still a little amazed. That should be the moon-hidden technique of the Yuehua tribe in the legend, but the Yuehua tribe has been exterminated thousands of years ago. This moon-hidden technique should have been lost. Where did Wen Yu learn it? It is impossible for him to learn such advanced witchcraft in a small place like Kangnan village. Yang Kai's moon-hidden technique was naturally not learned from the village chief, but taught by Qing. On the way back, Yang Kai has been digesting Qing's knowledge, so he has also learned a lot of witchcraft, and at this moment the lost moon-hidden art is just playing a role. Under the moonlight, Yang Kai is almost invisible, and he can only be found by approaching him for a certain distance or scanning with his spiritual sense. He came all the way to the stone castle, climbed over the stone wall without making a sound, and broke into the stone castle. On the stone wall, the archers of the Bone Eaters patrolled every 3 steps, every 5 steps, and patrolled back and forth. Obviously, they also knew that they might be attacked after looting the 3 villages. Even though these archers had no divine sense, all of them sensitive, with a natural vigilance for danger and all suspicious. When Yang Kai climbed over the stone wall, he almost attracted the attention of a shooter, and his eyes swept towards the place where Yang Kai was. Fortunately, this guy didn't go into it, otherwise Yang Kai might be exposed. After entering the stone castle, a bloody smell immediately lingered at the tip of his nose, which was obviously the smell of human blood. Yang Kai had seen hundreds of corpses hanging on the stone wall before, belonging to 3 tribes, blood dripping down, and the sound that came out was creepy. At this moment, in the stone castle, the people from the bone-eating department were feasting, and the smell of meat was everywhere. When Yang Kai looked around, he saw that the barbarians from the bone-eating department were gnawing on some cooked flesh, and those flesh and blood, many of them are obviously a part of the human body. Ordinary people would lose their appetite after seeing them, but these people who can eat bones all eat with gusto, even those children who have not grown up, often in order to fight for a piece of meat. These children wrestled into a ball, refusing to give in to each other, while the adult bone-eaters watched from the sidelines and laughed. It has long been heard that the bone-eaters are a heterogeneous group of uncivilized wild beasts, and after seeing it with his own eyes, Yang Kai can only say that the rumors are true. Taking a deep breath, suppressing the irritability in his heart, he quietly groped around in the stone castle. According to his agreement with Chihaju, he must first find out where the captives of the 3 villages are being held. At dawn, he will open the gate of the stone castle from the inside to create chaos, and then the Fury Flame Department and the Storm Department people who have a good relationship with him will cooperate with him from the inside out. At that time, he will release the warriors of the 3 tribes who were captured again, and he will definitely be able to kill Shigubu by surprise. There are great wizards in the stone castle, and there are several wizards. Yang Kai can't be too presumptuous, he dare not use his spiritual sense at all, so as not to startle the snake, he can only search a little bit. In the middle of the night, Yang Kai almost turned around the entire stone fort, but he still didn't find the place where the prisoners were held. There are at least 700 or 800 captives from 3 tribes and 3 villages. With such a huge number, the place is too small to hold them, but Yang Kai searched around but found nothing. In the end, he could only cast his eyes on the most central part of the stone castle, which was the core of the entire bone-eating department, and there was a powerful and ferocious aura faintly exuding from it, presumably that Wu Yu lived in it. After pondering for a while, Yang Kai's spiritual sense surged and stabbed underground. One touch is all it takes. Sure enough, there was another hole in the underground of this stone castle. Yang Kai felt that there were many auras of living people hidden below, but he didn't check too carefully so as not to let Wu Yu notice it. But as long as the place of detention is determined, the rest will be easy to handle. Holding his breath and staying in place for a moment, to make sure that Wu Yu was not disturbed by his spying just now, Yang Kai swung around and hid in a hidden place, waiting for the time to come. The stone castle is bustling with activity. The bone-eating tribesmen who have suffered through the cold winter have had a great harvest these days, so they naturally have to celebrate it. Outside the stone castle, the 2 tribes of the Raging Flame and the Gale tribe are quietly dormant, like to a poisonous snake, waiting for an opportunity to stick out its fangs. As time passed, the bustling voices in the stone castle gradually subsided, and thunderous snores kept coming and going, and even the archers who were patrolling the stone walls began to yawn. When the dawn in the east is approaching, the world falls into the darkest moment. A figure appeared from the hiding place and rushed to the gate of the stone castle like a gust of wind. With a few muffled bumps, the skulls of several bone-eater barbarians guarding the gate were split open, their brains splashed, and they died completely in their sleep. On the city wall, several shooters who heard the movement were startled at the same time, and turned their heads to look down. But he saw a strange figure standing on the ground, punching the stone door with a fist. With a crash, the stone gate shattered, and when the stones flew, the ground began to tremble, as if thousands of horses were galloping, and the sound of scattered and hurried footsteps quickly approached from far to near. The shooters turned their heads in horror, and saw that under the cover of darkness, a pair of scarlet eyes that had been subjected to bloodthirsty techniques exuded a terrifying light, wrapped in a breath of death, and swept away like a flood of beasts. "Come! Enemy attack!" someone exclaimed. The whistling sound was like an alarm bell, waking up the sleeping bone-eaters barbarians. At the same time, the archers on the stone wall bent their bows and set arrows and shot downwards. All the archers of the barbarians were sharpshooters, and so were those of the bone-eating department. When a round of arrows fell, more than a dozen people fell to the ground and died. But behind the rushing torrent, 2 figures danced out. One person's hands were shining with flames, and when he waved his hand, 2 fire dragon-like attacks descended from the sky, and a group of bone-eating shooters burned to death while shaking their heads and tails. The curse sounded in another mouth, and a terrifying tornado blew up on the stone wall immediately, as sharp as a knife, but all the bone-eating tribesmen who were caught in the tornado were all torn apart, and their flesh and blood were wiped out in the blink of an eye. There was only one skeleton left, pale and frightening. Kai and Zhu shot at the same time, instantly clearing away the threats from the shooters. Immediately behind the 2 great wizards were wizards from 2 tribes. The wizards were not many in number, only 7 in total, but they kept chanting spells during the raid to bless the warriors of the 2 tribes. All sorts of witchcraft to make them faster, stronger and more ferocious. Yang Kai turned around, suspended in midair, staring coldly at the bone-eating tribesmen who were alarmed from all directions. The witches from the Bone Eater mixed in the crowd yelled at their own people, as if instructing them to attack Yang Kai. Without instructions, Yang Kai was such an obvious target, the barbarians of the bone-eating department naturally saw clearly. Before the man came close, arrows missed and came through the air, trying to shoot him over. The light of the shield of witchcraft lit up, and the arrows with a mighty force failed to accomplish anything. In the next moment, all kinds of strange witchcraft struck. The shield of witchcraft is still standing, with ripples appearing on the surface, blocking all attacks. The witches in the crowd were dumbfounded. The brave bone eaters rushed to Yang Kai. A dozen ferocious fighters jumped up high, pointed their weapons at Yang Kai, and slashed down. Yang Kai stretched out his hand to grasp it, and a million swords appeared leisurely. With a wave of his hand, the sword light that was more than 10 feet long seemed to be able to shatter the void, bringing out a bright light in midair. Clatter! The dozen or so high-jumping bone-eating warriors were all broken up to their waists, and at the same time as a muffled groan sounded, they fell one after another, their internal organs scattered, and blood gushing like a fountain. All the barbarians from the Bone Eater looked at Yang Kai in shock, as if they were looking at the most ferocious demon. Shigubu, who is not afraid of anything, actually feels fear under this sword. Dare to be presumptuous in this witch's place, court death. A roar came from the stone castle, and immediately after that, a half-naked man with a hideous and terrifying appearance flew out like thunder. Before he arrived, he punched out. Yang Kai shrank his eyes, turned the million sword, and blocked the horizontal sword from the side. There was a loud bang, and the million swords clanged. The sword body was bent, almost torn apart, and before Yang Kai could counterattack, two figures suddenly sprang out from the left and right sides. It was Kai and Zhu who joined forces to kill them. The two great wizards belonging to different tribes went directly to the most powerful Wuyu without saying a word, and the witchcraft that had been refined for many years instantly burst into amazing light. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2829 Save People. In an instant, the three great wizards fought fiercely, and the battlefield climbed rapidly until they disappeared above the clouds. Rumbling, the 300 people from the Raging Flame Department and the Wild Wind Department also killed together, and the defense of the stone castle was completely destroyed by the impact of the iron hoofs. The sound of piercing the air continued whizzing, knocking one after another Bone Eater soldiers to the ground. A surprise attack from both inside and outside caught the Bone Eater by surprise. These Bone Eater tribesmen who had just woken up from a full meal and sleep couldn't even be surprised by their usual fighting strength, and dozens of people were killed or injured in an instant. However, after a short period of astonishment, the bloodthirsty and ferocious Bone Eaters finally came to their senses. Nearly 20 witches scattered in the group chanted spells one after another, blessing various gain sorcery. Two groups of barbarians, both in groups of several hundred, charged at each other. One was fearless to die under the cover of its own shooter, and the other was also instinctively stimulated by the smell of blood, and collided with each other while roaring and screaming. The earth is crying. In an instant, the battlefield was like a huge meat grinder, with blood splattered, flesh and blood separated, and the barbarians fell down one after another. Yang Kai withdrew his gaze from above the clouds, glanced at the chaotic and savage battle in front of him, frowned slightly, and at the same time his figure swayed. He appeared in the sky above the gathering of Bone Eaters. The million sword buzzed, and a beam of sword light shot out from the tip of the sword. There was no movement, and without a sound, when the light flashed, a long blank area immediately appeared among the bone-eating tribesmen gathered together. The ashes powder disappeared. The noisy battlefield was suddenly quiet for a moment, and everyone looked up. The eyes of the clansmen of the Bone Eater are full of fear, while those of the Raging Flame and Gale Department are full of surprise. No one expected that this weak-looking guy would have such awe-inspiring power when he made a move. With a sound, a bloody light shot from below, turning into a blood snake, and opened its mouth to bite Yang Kai. This is the witchcraft of the Bone Eater. It is secretive and difficult to guard against. When the snake mouth opens, a stench is almost disgusting. It obviously contains a strong poison. If it is really bitten, it will definitely not end well. Yang Kai didn't even look at it. Under the horrified gazes of the many clansmen from the Raging Flame Department and the Wild Wind Department, he raised his hand and held it in the void. then held the blood snake in his hand, squeezed it hard, and the blood snake slammed and turned into a snake. A pool of thick blood poured down from midair. At the same time, a sorcerer in the crowd of the Bone Eater let out a muffled grunt, and traces of blood flowed out from the 7 orifices. The blood snake was his trump card, a trump card he cultivated with the blood of his own life, and when Yongkai smashed it, he had already suffered a lot of backlash. His combat experience is undoubtedly very rich. Seeing that the blood snake was easily smashed by Yongkai, he knew that he was definitely not this person's opponent, so he wanted to hide in the crowd while his figure was shaking. Yongkai threw a million swords backhand, and the million swords turned into a stream of light, turning around in the crowd, piercing directly from the chest of the bone-eating wizard, coming out from behind, turning around and returning to the sword. Yongkai hands. After a crash, more than a dozen bone-eaters fell down. And the wizard who was targeted is also doomed. The wizard-level wizard shield is like paper in front of the million swords, and it has no defensive effect at all. Many members of the bone-eating department were really startled, their eyes were filled with horror, and they stepped back a few steps. Even his own wizard was instantly killed by him, so who can stop this person in this place? Only Master Yu has this possibility, but Master Yu was pinned by the enemy above the clouds, and he has no way to separate himself. Roar! The warriors of the Raging Flame department roared wildly, taking advantage of the time when the Bone Eaters retreated timidly, they bravely charged. When they came into contact, the Bone Eater, who was already timid even though there were many people, retreated steadily. Yongkai nodded at the teeth in the crowd, made a wrong step, and left the battlefield. Although the power of his 2 swords gave the Fury Flame and the Gale department a huge advantage, and suppressed the courage and confidence of the Bone Eater, but the number of his own team was doubled after all, and continuing to fight might not be able to maintain the advantage. He has more important tasks. So he soon came to the stone castle that he had investigated before. The enemy attacked and sent out all the people from the Bone Eater. When he rushed into the stone castle, no one stopped him. Impossible to stop his pace. After scanning around with spiritual mind, Yongkai quickly found an entrance leading to the ground in a certain position of the stone castle, opened the stone door, and Yongkai went all the way down. A pungent and unpleasant smell lingered on the tip of the nose, and a faint fire came from deep underground. Soon they entered a dungeon-like place, and the sound of footsteps alarmed the Bone Eaters guarding the cage, and a muffled voice came from ahead. What happened up there? Yongkai didn't answer, and went straight forward. I asked you what happened above. The man seemed to have a bad temper, and couldn't help but roared. What answered him was a little cold light in the darkness. Yongkai brushed past him, his head flew up, his burly body swayed a few times, and fell on his back, the blood from his neck spurted out, staining the ground red. This turn of events shocked the other Bone Eaters guarding the dungeon. Unfortunately, before they could make any moves, the million swords flew out, harvesting their lives like straw. Withdrawing the million sword, Yongkai glanced left and right, and saw that in the underground prison, there were more than a dozen cells, each cell was full, and pairs of eyes were surprised and expectant. Looking at Yongkai. Aniu! A familiar call came. Yongkai turned his head and looked over there, seeing Ahu's face. Brother Niu! Brother Aniu is here! Aniu is here to save us! In the prison cell, the villagers of other Kangnan village shouted, their voices were excited, and they were extremely happy. Yongkai stepped forward and stretched out his hand on the prison door, the witch power surged, and there was a sudden shock, and the solid prison door instantly shattered. The villagers of Kangnan village rushed out. Needless to say, they dispersed to rescue the prisoners in other cells. Yongkai looked at them and found that they had no problems other than being weak, but soon he frowned and asked, where is the village chief? He didn't see the kind old man here. As soon as this remark came out, the expressions of the villagers of Kangnan village gathered around Yongkai were all gloomy. Yongkai looked at Ahu with sharp eyes. Ahu lowered his head and said, when those bastards brought us back, the village chief couldn't bear the torture, he died on the way. Yongkai didn't say a word, but the aura on his body became icy cold. Ahu raised his head, his eyes were blood red and he said, Aniu, I want revenge. Avenge the village chief. The villagers of Kangnan village gritted their teeth and drank in a low voice. Yongkai raised his head, saw the blazing fire of revenge from the eyes of many villagers, and nodded slightly. At this moment, the prisoners in the other cells were also rescued, and one person from the Raging Flame department and the Storm department each walked out. Apparently they were their leaders, but before they could speak, Yongkai turned his head and said, Master Kai and Master Zhu have brought people over, and now the clansmen of your two tribes are fighting to the death with the bone eaters above, they need your strength. Master Kai is here, Master Zhu is here too. The people of the two tribes were overjoyed when they heard the news. Both of them were at the level of great wizards. With them, the confidence of the two tribes increased greatly. Ahu, bring everyone to fight with them, don't let anyone from the bone eater be spared. Yang Kai turned his head and told him. Okay, let's kill every bone today. Pieces of armor will not be left. The crowd shouted, under the same hatred, hundreds of people seemed to be united as one, and the momentum gathered was about to soar into the sky. A mantra resounded from Yang's mouth, and one after another exquisite witchcraft appeared in his hands, turning into mysterious power, enhancing the strength of the three tribes. Hundreds of people were shocked. Especially Ahu and others, they all found it unbelievable. Although Aniu is a witch, it is unprecedented to give hundreds of people the power of various witchcraft, and they feel that the witchcraft performed by Aniu compared with the ones that the village chief gave him blessings at the beginning, they are much more clever and effective. At least the bloodthirsty technique gives people a different feeling, the originally weak body is now full of strength, and the flow is continuous, even if there is a tiger or leopard in front of it, I am afraid that it can be torn apart with bare hands. Aniu now, what strength? The battle was imminent, and before he could ask any more questions, Yang Kai waved his hand and said, let's all go. Ahu nodded at Yang Kai, and rushed outside with the leaders of the other two tribes leading hundreds of people. Yang Kai stood still, and gently closed his eyes, his divine sense surged like a tide, instantly locking onto Wu Yu, who was fighting 1 against 2 on the clouds. The next moment, he raised his sword to point to the sky, and his body swayed, turning into a spinning top. Where the sword tip passed, the ground above his head cracked, revealing a deep and secluded passage. With a bang, Yang Kai broke through the ground, his body wrapped in the sword light, and went straight to the sky. At the same time, Wu Yu, who was 1 against 2 but not in the slightest, and even had a slight advantage, was a warning sign in his heart. He only felt a breath of death enveloped him, making people feel cold all over. Seeing him lose his mind, Kai, who was targeted, quickly jumped away, put on several layers of witchcraft shields on himself, but was still dripping with cold sweat. The moment just now was extremely thrilling. He thought that if he teamed up with Zhu, even if he couldn't kill this Wu Yu, he could at least hold him back. You can move back, and then you can retreat calmly. The main purpose this time is to save people, not to beat the bone eater to death. But after the real fight, Kai discovered that his judgment was wrong. To be continued. This text is provided by the Dawn Update at CAA Cent. Chapter 2830 Rolling. Chapter 2830 Crushing. Although Yu is indeed a mid-level great wizard, 1 level higher than himself and Zhu Ji, but this guy's strength is much higher than what I expected, and the two of them can't get the slightest benefit in front of him. His witch weapon is a gourd, from which a sea of AA blood can be poured out. The sea of AA blood is extremely corrosive, and he and Zhu fell into the sea of AA blood, and they could only exert 80% of their strength. If not, the situation just now would not be so difficult. You obviously plan to break it apart, use the power of the sea of AA blood to trouble and restrain the bamboo, and then kill yourself. It was only a short while after the battle, and you were beaten by him without any power to fight back. If you hadn't taken the initiative to retreat just now, if you don't die, you will be seriously injured. Why did you back off? Kai didn't know the reason, and didn't know if this was Yu's tactic, so he could only retreat to Ju's side and wait and see vigilantly. And the next moment, he understood the reason why you retreated. Because a sensational, extremely sharp aura suddenly pierced from below the sea of AA blood, even if this aura didn't target him, it still made Kai feel shaken and restless. And you, who is positive about this aura, may not have a good time. This is indeed the case. You, who has always been acting lightly, seems to have encountered some natural enemy at this moment. His expression is extremely nervous, and he keeps swearing. It transmits the terrifying power of collapsing mountains and cracking seas. Kai gasped, his eyes filled with horror. It's not because of Yu's great strength, he is just a great wizard, even if a mid-level great wizard is 1 rank higher than himself, how strong can he be? Yu's strength is based on the blood gourd, a witch weapon. This is definitely not a witch weapon that a great wizard can easily obtain. This should be a witch weapon given to him by the Witch King or the Witch Saint. Thinking of this, Chi's heart sank. Not allowing him to think too much, the sharp aura had collided with the sea of AA blood, and there was a burst of hissing sound in an instant, and Sword Chi appeared out of thin air, wandering in the sea of AA blood, where the sword chi passed, a piece of the blood mist was transpiring and it was actually destroyed a lot. Chi's eyes lit up. Although he didn't know where the strong support came from, he could do this step, but he also knew that this was an excellent opportunity for him to fight back. He glanced at Zhu, and the two looked at each other. It goes without saying. They each chanted the incantation, and the light of the witchcraft in their hands bloomed, and they hit you head to head and face to face. The sea of AA blood rolled, and the waves gathered into a wall to block you, making the attacks of the two great wizards return in vain. Not only that, but their wizard weapons were tainted by the sea of AA blood, and they lost a lot of spirituality for no reason. People shouted distressed. But their strikes somewhat restrained Yu's energy, causing the power he used to fight against the sharp breath to be a little unstable. The bloody vortex suddenly became chaotic, and immediately collapsed, and from the vortex, a sword light pierced through the air, and the human sword merged into one, and slashed towards Yu. Roar! Yu Chu remained calm, raised his hands while growling, and bloody arrows appeared out of thin air, turning into a rain of arrows and flying towards Jianguang. Chi 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 chi! The overwhelming rain of arrows will hinder Jianguang's progress. Stained by streaks of filthy blood, the sword light suddenly dims, revealing a figure from it. With a cold snort, Yang Kai fell into the sea of AA blood, and looked around in amazement. It's you. Kai looked at Yang Kai in shock, and couldn't believe that the sudden reinforcement was actually the wizard from the Southern Man tribe. Is this fucking wizard? How can there be such a powerful force? Even Ju's eyes trembled. Obviously he still couldn't accept what he saw. Wizard. Yu frowned. He thought that the person who came was at least a high-ranking great wizard, but when he saw it clearly, he realized that the other party was just a wizard. The million sword lingered for a moment. He could see that the most fundamental reason why this wizard could exert a power far beyond his own was the sword, which was definitely a witch weapon that even the Witch King and even the Witch Saint could not ignore. After thinking about this festival, you couldn't help but sneer. The most powerful thing in this sea of AA blood is to corrode the witchcraft. No matter how powerful the witchcraft is, as long as it is stained with a little blood, it will lose its spirituality. It is most unwise to use the power of a witch weapon to fight against oneself. As long as the spirituality of that sword is corroded, he can do whatever he wants in this sea of AA blood. He doesn't care whether there are 2 or 3 enemies. But at the next moment, Yu Bian was shocked and looked forward in horror. Because Yang Kai just shook slightly, the blood on the million sword disappeared, revealing the bright and wide sword body again, without any trace of corrosion at all. How is this possible? And at the moment when he lost his mind, Yang Kai had turned into a thunderbolt and rushed towards him again. Be careful. Kai was shocked. Although he was shocked by Yang Kai's stunning blow just now, this guy is only a wizard after all, so if he rushed towards the enemy rashly, what would happen? Yu Haha laughed loudly, looking at Yang Kai as if looking at a dead person. When he raised his hand, the sea of AA blood separated, a tsunami of blood covered Yang Kai, instantly making him disappear. With his red mouth wide open, with an annoyed expression on his face, he secretly cursed that wizard from the southern barbarian tribe for not succeeding enough but failing. Yu's sea of AA blood was already difficult to deal with. Now that he has been corroded and supplemented by his strength, he might become even stronger. There is no chance of winning with Zulian. Retreat now. Only then could there be a glimmer of life, otherwise, after you reacted, neither he nor Zhu could run away. As for his clansmen, they could run as much as they could. In this situation, he can't care about others anymore. His mind turned, but Kai didn't act, because he saw something wrong with Yu's expression. Logically speaking, Yu Gang should be happy to eliminate a strong enemy, but it can be seen that his expression is not the slightest joy, but a little surprised. Is there any change? Before he could finish his thoughts, a figure burst out from the sea of AA blood. His animal skin clothes were completely corroded, revealing a weak body for a barbarian, but the seemingly weak body was unscathed. Moving like the wind, he rushed in front of Yu in an instant. The extremely wide sword was raised high, and slashed down fiercely. Under the blow of the sword, Yu Hun was scattered, because he found that the sword seemed simple, but he couldn't avoid it no matter what, as if he was locked up. In a hurry, he spurted out a mouthful of blood and forcibly twisted his lower body. La-a! With a soft sound, Yu's left arm snapped and fell into the sea of AA blood, turning into pus in the blink of an eye, making the sea of AA blood churning more violently. Yu took a few steps back, looking at Yang Kai in horror, covering the broken arm with his hand. His head was a little dazed. He didn't understand at all how the other party survived under the cover of his own blood, and how he was able to cut off his own arm. When the words fell, a cold face suddenly appeared in front of him, almost face to face with him. Yu lost his mind in an instant, and hurriedly backed away. When his thoughts moved slightly, a bloody vortex appeared under his feet, and he fell directly, as if trying to hide his figure. At this moment, the other party's right eye suddenly turned into a golden light, and a majestic and palpitating vertical pupil suddenly appeared, and there was a magical power in that pupil, which seemed to be able to involve one's soul and make one's mind restless. A moment of hesitation made Yu's escape a bit slower. Yang Kai slashed the million sword in his hand again, and Yu's right arm flew out in response. The severe pain brought Yu back to his senses, and he let out a scream. He didn't dare to hesitate any longer, and disappeared into the sea of AA blood without a trace. Yang Kai shook his head, his expression seemed a little annoyed. Suppressed by the laws of the ancient times and the secret realm here, he couldn't fully display his strength. It was a bit difficult to use the world-exterminating demon eye once, but both arms were severed, and Yu had been seriously injured. He appeared in front of himself easily. In the void, a large sea of AA blood rolled. Kai and Zhu stayed in place, staring at Yang Kai for a moment, their heads in chaos. What I saw just now, is it true? Both of them wondered if there was something wrong with their eyesight. A wizard swung his sword twice and cut off both of Yu's arms. On the other hand, Yu didn't seem to have any intention of dodging, so he was injured so stupidly. As great wizards, both of them couldn't understand this battle. However, the situation is still not optimistic. Although Yu was seriously injured, he managed to escape into the sea of AA blood, and in this sea of AA blood, he was really like a fish in water. No one could guarantee when he would jump out and attack suddenly. Just when he was thinking this way, Yang Kai suddenly turned his head and looked at the two of them. His cold eyes made both Kai and Zhu feel a chill in their hearts. And the next moment, a horrifying scene appeared. The Wu Niu raised his hand, and a black attack like a moon blade appeared strangely, slashing towards the two of them with a breath of death. The two of them had no doubts that if they really took such a blow, they would definitely die on the spot. What are you doing? Zhu was furious, thinking that this Wu Niu's sanity had been polluted by the sea of AA blood, so he attacked his own people. While speaking, he teamed up with Kai to cast a shield of witchcraft and blocked it in front of him. But the pitch-black moon blade was so powerful that it directly smashed through the shield of witchcraft and attacked it face to face. The two great wizards felt cold all over their bodies, and a breath of death enveloped them, and their minds were blank when it was a matter of life and death. The next moment, there was a scream from behind. It's Yu's voice. Kai and Zhu turned pale with fright. They didn't care about why they were not dead or injured. They hurriedly turned their heads, only to see the resentment and panic on Yu's face. His right leg was cut off for some reason, and his body was running towards the sea of AA blood. Disappeared. His target is Yu. Yang Kai's voice came, be careful. When Kai and Zhu heard the words, they both showed shame. When Yu appeared behind them just now, they didn't realize it. If Yang Kai didn't take the initiative, one of them would have been murdered at this moment. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to vote for recommendations and monthly tickets. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile phone users, please go to read. Chapter 2831. In the void, the sea of AA blood was still there, and the three stood still. Yang Kai's eyes were like lightning, and his divine sense was searching for Yu's trace. Kai and Zhu didn't dare to take it lightly. The two were back to back, each other's horns, guarding against sneak attacks from behind. The sea of AA blood no longer churned, appearing silent. But everyone knows that Yu didn't escape and is still here. It's not that he doesn't want to escape, but he can't go away. Once he emerges from the sea of AA blood, that weird and powerful Wu Niu will never let him go. After seeing Wu Niu's methods with his own eyes, Kai and Zhu can no longer fight against him. He treated him like a wizard, but he was the one who beat Yu so hard that he couldn't fight back and even lost his arms and legs. Do you think I can do nothing for you if you hide? Yang Kai's voice suddenly came, showing a sense of sarcasm and disdain. Today, this witch will ask you to pay with blood. When the words fell, he suddenly stretched out his hand and picked up a longan-sized bead. The bead looked normal, but when Yang Kai urged it, a majestic suction force suddenly appeared, and in front of the bead, a dark vortex appeared, which seemed to lead to the 9 nether purgatory. The monstrous sea of AA blood, pulled by the suction force, rushed towards the vortex one after another. Kai Huju's eyes lit up, and his heart secretly cheered up. In the current situation, Yu hides his head and shows his tail and dare not show up. With the help of the magic of the Sea of Aa blood to hide himself, the two of them have no good way to find each other. If this stalemate continues, Yu might be able to escape. After all, they can't guard this Sea of Aa blood forever. But now seeing the power of the witch weapon that the witch cow took out, it seems that something big is about to happen. As long as the Sea of Aa blood is absorbed, you will have nothing to hide from. The only question now is whether the humble bead can absorb such a large Sea of Aa blood. The answer is of course yes. The mysterious boundary bead is a world of its own. Although Yu's Sea of Aa blood is not small, it is nothing to the mysterious boundary bead. It will be a matter of time before it is swallowed up. Under the intense attention of Kai and Zhu, the Sea of Aa blood covering the sky decreased and shrunk at a speed visible to the naked eye. On the other hand, the suction from the bead did not weaken at all. The huge vortex still existed, and the surging suction pulling the water of the Sea of Aa blood and pouring it in. In less than a stick of incense, the Sea of Aa blood was only half of its original size. At this time, Yu, who was hiding in the Sea of Aa blood to heal his wounds and searched for opportunities to fight, finally couldn't sit still. 80% of his abilities rested on the Sea of Aa blood. Once the Sea of Aa blood was broken, he would suffer backlash. The calm Sea of Aa blood suddenly rolled, and under the tumbling sea, a figure surged like a fish, rushing towards Kai and Zhu, silently, moving secretly. How vigilant Kai, Zhu and the two were, unexpectedly did not notice the slightest. With a clatter, you are like a divine soldier descending from the sky, suddenly appearing in front of Zhu, with a ferocious smile on his face. The arms and right leg that were cut off by Yang Kai are still intact for some reason. Just look at the newborn skin, but it is extremely white and tender, not as strong as before. Zhu turned pale with shock, and made a tactic with one hand, and the light of the witchcraft shield lit up. At the same time, a wind blade had already slashed towards Yudang, trying to repel him. When the Sea of Aa blood surged, a blood wall appeared in front of Yu, blocking the wind blade, and after the blood wall collapsed, Yu disappeared. Immediately afterwards, Zhu felt that his shield of witchcraft was broken, and was shocked for a moment, and his whole body was cold. But at this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of her. This figure was not tall, but looked a little weak, but it gave people an illusion that it was hard to come by. Wu Niu. Yang Kai stretched out his hand to grab something in the void, and in the blood mist, he seemed to grab something, and with a muffled groan, Yu's figure reappeared, but at this moment, Yang Kai pinched his neck. The strong body was held by Yang Kai like a chicken. Zhu gasped heavily, with lingering fear on his face. The change at that moment just now was really lightning and flint, and she had almost no time to react. If it wasn't for the witch cow who suddenly came out at a critical moment and accurately caught Yu, who was hidden in the blood mist, she would have. I'm afraid it's over. How on earth did he do it? Zhu Yi's head was at a loss, but he also knew that now was not the time to think about this. Now that Yu was captured, with the various means and strength shown by this Wu Niu before, you should not be able to make a big splash. It can be said that this battle has been won. Just when she was relaxing, she saw Yu suddenly grinned a strange smile, and said unhurriedly, "You think you caught me?" Zhu was a little dazed, and instinctively felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell exactly what was wrong. "You thought you succeeded?" Yang Kai asked with a sneer. With the winning ticket in hand, a look of astonishment immediately appeared on Yu's face, and before he could say anything more, Yang Kai had already twisted his neck with force. Clatter. Yu, whose neck was broken, suddenly dissolved and turned into a pool of blood, returning to the Sea of Aa blood. Blood clone. Both Kai and Zhu turned pale with shock. If Wu Niu caught Yu's blood avatar, then where is the real Yu? The two couldn't help thinking of something, and turned their heads to look at the same time, and saw that there, above the Sea of Aa blood, in front of the bead that swallowed endless blood, Yu didn't know when it appeared there, and at this moment, they were holding the bead, obviously wanting to snatch it. This witchcraft. This is undoubtedly a wise move. All of Yu's abilities are based on this Sea of Aa blood. Now one Yu's witch weapon has the power to break through the Sea of Aa blood, and it is unreasonable that it is stronger. Let's talk about taking away the witch weapon. As long as there is no such witch weapon to break through the Sea of Aa blood, Neo will be invincible. The blood clone that attacked Zhu earlier was just a cover to attract Wu Niu's attention and pull him away from the witch weapon. Facts have proved that Yu's method is quite effective. Wu Niu was indeed dragged away, and the witch weapon was left unattended, and he grabbed it in his hand. At this moment, Yu should be ecstatic, but why does he have an expression of hardship and fear? The hand holding the witchcraft bead trembled violently, as if struck by lightning. Stupid, Yang Kai sneered, walking on the sea of AA blood, walking towards you step by step. Sensing Yang Kai's approach, Yu's expression was full of horror, his witch power fluttered wildly, but he still couldn't get rid of the suction from the mysterious boundary orb, he could only be firmly fixed in place and could not move. He thought that as long as he snatched the mysterious boundary bead, he would be fine, but he didn't know that Yang Kai and the mysterious boundary bead had long been united in mind, like arms and fingers. There is a huge difference between the witchcraft of ancient times and the secret treasures of later generations. If the mysterious boundary orb is really a witchcraft, it may have been obtained by you, but the mysterious boundary bead is a world of its own. How can his strength move the world? Even if the Witch King and Witch Saint came, they couldn't pick it up. Instead, it was the suction force from the mysterious boundary bead that locked you in place. Seeing Yang Kai gradually approaching, a flustered expression finally flashed on Yu's face. Even if his arms and legs were chopped off just now, his expression didn't change much, but now, he realized what despair is. No begging for mercy, no cowardice, you just looked back at Yang Kai coldly, grinning grinningly, the food and bone department will not let you go. When the words fell, a look of determination appeared on his face, and his witch power suddenly surged. Yang Kai frowned and paused. The next moment, there was a loud noise, Yu's body exploded, and blood poured down from the sky, as if a blood rain had fallen between the sky and the earth, dyeing the earth red. In desperation, this Yu actually chose to blow himself up, which shows how strong his temperament is. However, most of the barbarians are such people. In a situation where death is inevitable, few people will choose to linger on. The sea of AA blood disappeared, and the sky was clear. At this moment, the sun has risen, and the sun is shining brightly, but it can't resolve the coldness of this land. The killing below is still going on. There are 700 or 800 clansmen in this stone castle of the Bone Eater, and although there are only 300 people from the Fury Flame and the Wild Wind, the captives released by Yang Kai made up for the shortage. There are some advantages in terms of numbers. The only disadvantage is that the number of witches is less than that of the other party. There are only 7 or 8 witches in the third department, but there are nearly 20 in the bone-eating department. So this battle was earth-shattering, the two sides were almost evenly matched, and barbarians continued to die on the spot. This evenly matched situation was changed at the moment of Yu's death. When the sea of AA blood covering the world disappeared, everyone looked up to check the results of the high-level battle. In a sense, the result of the high-level battle was basically the final outcome. 3 figures stood in the void, and the 3 tribes shouted wildly, but the tribes of the Bone Eater were ashamed. Kill! With a roar, the 3 barbarians launched the final charge, but without Yu, the Bone Eater was no longer qualified to compete with the 3 tribes. The previous deadlock was instantly broken under the distraction of the people. Bamboo and Kai flew down without saying a word. Powerful sorcery ran through the audience, and enemies died as soon as they raised their hands. More than 20 witches from the Bone Eater could barely hold on in front of the 2 of them. After 10 breaths of effort, the whole army was wiped out. Without the support of their own witches, the soldiers of the Bone Eater were greatly reduced in combat power, and were quickly killed to pieces. In the later stage of the battle, it was purely a one-sided massacre, but no one was relentless, because the enemy in front of them was the Bone Eater. He is a different kind among the barbarians. It is a tribe that should have been expelled from the barbarians long ago. The battle lasted for less than half a day. When the last bone-eating tribe was killed, the stone castle was already full of blood and bones. People from the 3 tribes roamed the battlefield, regardless of whether the people from the Bone Eater were dead or alive, it would be a matter of making up for it. Then everyone began to collect the corpses of their own tribesmen. When night fell, a simple ceremony was held outside the stone fort. The corpses of all 3 tribes were piled together and presided over by Kai, they were cremated. The barbarians believe that the scorching flames can make the tribe return to the embrace of the barbarian god after death. To be continued. This text is provided by the Dawn Update at CAA Cent. Chapter 2832 1 month. Phone reading. Outside the stone fort, the 3 tribes were ready to go after a night of repairing. Although basically everyone was injured, and the serious ones were missing arms and legs, so they could only be carried by others, but everyone looked happy. Please search #IC1/2 to see the most complete. The fastest updated novel. Being able to rescue his own clansmen from the hands of the Bone Eater is a remarkable achievement. Not far away, Kai, Zhu and Yang Kai chatted in low voices as they walked. Wu Niu, you have to be careful about the revenge of the Bone Eater. Zhu warned earnestly, the Bone Eater is a tribe that must take revenge. This time we have bloodbathed a small tribe of them, and they will never let it go. Kai nodded and said, you'd better find time to meet the Lord Witch King of your tribe. It would be better for him to deal with this matter. After all, the Ministry of Bone Eaters made a mistake in this matter. If the Witch King came forward to mediate, this matter may be over. It's not that simple. Yang Kai shook his head and said, I don't know if you have noticed, but use witch weapon is not something that a great wizard can easily possess. As soon as these words came out, Zhu and Qi's expressions changed slightly, obviously they both thought about this. Yang Kai continued, being able to have such a witch weapon shows that you has a lot of background, maybe he is the descendant of those witch kings or witch saints in the bone department, or he is deeply respected by those witch kings and witch saints. Killing him will cause quite a lot of trouble, and the Witch King's mediation may not necessarily solve it. Zhu Dao. No matter what, if the Witch King comes forward, there will always be a turning point. With our current strength alone, we cannot fight against the Witch King. Yang Kai smiled slightly and didn't say much. He is now in the realm of wizards, and perhaps he is indeed not the opponent of the Wizard King, but now that his divine sense has been opened, he can also use the magical power of the law of space. Even if he really faces the last Witch King, he is not afraid. What's more, as long as he is given enough time, his strength will skyrocket. On the other hand, Zhu and Kai, once really approached by the Witch King of the Bone Eater, would have absolutely no power to fight back. It is reasonable for them to seek the protection of the Witch King of their own tribe. The three of them walked and chatted all the way, although Chiju's realm was much higher than Yang Kai's, but after a bloody battle yesterday, the two of them no longer dared to underestimate him in the slightest. They don't have the ability to force a mid-level great wizard to blow himself up. So the two took the initiative to lower their identities and communicate with Yang Kai on an equal footing. Half a day later, the three parties parted ways, and Yang Kai led 200 villagers towards Kangnan village. There were more than 300 villagers in Kangnan village. It's just that after this battle, the number of people dropped by 1/3, and as the only remaining witch in the village, Yang Kai naturally became the leader of the village. 3 days later, Yang Kai led more than 200 people back to Kangnan village. Looking at the ruined village, many villagers were a little sad. At the entrance of the village, Dai's figure suddenly flashed out, looked at Yang Kai, and nodded slightly at him. Behind the butterfly, 7 or 8 children rushed out one after another, found their parents, hugged each other, and cried bitterly. The sudden appearance of this stranger, Dai, made the villagers feel curious. Fortunately, the villagers did not have much contact with the outside world and were relatively unfamiliar with the floating department, so they were just curious. However, Dai's body shape was somewhat similar to that of Yang Kai, no more than that of ordinary barbarians, strong. Instead, it made the villagers feel kind. Yang Kai briefly introduced Dai to the villagers, told her that she was his friend, and immediately received warm hospitality from the clansmen. The village was destroyed, so naturally it had to be rebuilt. Fortunately, the villagers are all big and round, so it is no problem to do this kind of thing. The reconstruction work took less than 5 days, and the dilapidated village returned to its former appearance. 5 days later, everything was on the right track, and Yang Kai sat cross-legged in the wooden house. After groping through the space ring for a while, he finally found the inner alchemy of a 9th-level monster. The inner alchemy of 9th-order monster beasts. If it was Yang Kai before, he would not look down on him at all. When he picked up the inner alchemy in the beast tomb in the wild ancient land, Yang Kai only picked up the inner alchemy above the 9th rank. He didn't take it at all below the 9th level, otherwise the number of millions of inner alchemy would be even more terrifying. But now, this 9th level inner alchemy may be too advanced for him. The monster inner alchemy that Yang Kai used before was not good enough. The most advanced one was only equivalent to the level of the 6th order inner alchemy, but now there is a 9th level one, just like clear soup and cabbage used to noodles. I don't know if I can stand a table of delicacies from mountains and seas. But the matter has come to this point, Yang Kai has nothing to hesitate, his physical body is not vulgar, even if the energy in the 9th order inner alchemy is a bit of a load on him now, it will not be injured. Opening his mouth to swallow the inner alchemy, Yang Kai immediately activated a set of witchcraft spells. This witchcraft is not the one taught by the village chief, but obtained from Qing's knowledge. It is an extremely brilliant set of witchcraft, which is completely incomparable with the one taught by the village chief. When the witchcraft was running, Yang Kai immediately felt the difference. After all, he is also a strong emperor senior realm, and one can tell the pros and cons of his skills once he tries them out. This set of witchcraft obtained from Qing is really good, and the speed of cultivation is more than 10 times faster than before. The most important thing is that he has just taken a 9th order inner alchemy. Immediately, there was a hot feeling from the abdomen, as if the flames were burning in it. When the surging energy contracted and expanded, it made Yang Kai's stomach instantly round. If his physical body was not strong enough, this alone would be enough to make him explode. Death. His face was flushed red, and the veins on his forehead were bulging, and blood was overflowing from Yang Kai's nostrils under the intensive mending. He remained as still as a mountain, guarding his mind and urging his witchcraft to refine. At the time of puffing and puffing, the air waves were like the sea, the wooden house was actually crumbling, and the surrounding spiritual energy surged, which surprised the villagers, not knowing what happened. On the other hand, Lu Yiguang, who was teaching the children how to cultivate, saw some clues and stopped Ahu and others from rushing into the wooden house. Dai quickly integrated into the village, and she helped a lot during the 5-day reconstruction. To the simple villagers of Kangnan village, she is already a member of the village, and everyone knows that she, like a Niu, they are all powerful witches. Naturally, everyone dared not listen to her words. This vision lasted for a full day, and the movement from Yang Kai's wooden house gradually subsided. And in the wooden house, Yang Kai's round belly became flat again, and a 9th order inner alchemy was refined by him with witchcraft, integrated into the body, and turned into his own powerful capital. The realm of wizards has improved a lot all of a sudden. Without hesitation, Yang Kai once again took out a 9th order inner alchemy and opened his mouth to swallow it. The movement that surprised the villagers and the turbulence of the air wave came from the wooden house again. In the past 1 month, the villagers of Kangnan village have almost gotten used to the various abnormal movements coming from a Niu's wooden house. From the initial curiosity to the present calmness, this abnormality has experienced a lot, many times. At the beginning, this kind of movement was only once a day, and it gradually subsided, but the further it went, the more frequent the movement, and the faster it subsided. Butterfly said it was Niu who was practicing. The villagers don't understand witchcraft and sorcery, but they always feel that this practice is a little different from the village chiefs before. The village chief has also practiced before, but there will be no such big movements at all, but since Dai said yes, then it is. For a whole month, Niu did not show his face again, and the villagers were even a little worried that he would starve to death in the house. Niu and others were stopped by Dai when they delivered food several times, and now Ani looked at Dai, his eyes were a little sad. Strictly speaking, Niu is very irresponsible. When the village chief used to lead everyone, he would guide everyone on how to do everything. In addition to being busy, he disappeared in the future. Ahu and the others can only do things cheaply, and ask Dai if they can't. Although Dai is not deeply involved in the world, he can still control the affairs of a small village, and he has helped the villagers a lot. Now Dai's prestige in the village is not as good as Yang Kai, but it is only below Yang Kai. On this day, the peaceful village was suddenly startled by a sharp roar. The villagers rushed out of their wooden huts one after another. Ahu and other young and middle-aged men had serious expressions on their faces, as if they were ready to fight at any time, because the whistling sound came from the fence wall, and it was the sound of warning. This sound means that outsiders have come to the village. What's the matter? Ahu ran up the fence with a brisk step, and asked the shooter standing on the wall patrolling. A great witch is coming. The shooter pointed forward, and Ahu looked around, and he saw a person flying towards this side from the sky. Witch. And it's a very powerful witch. Only witches at the level of wizards can break free from the pull of the earth and fly in the air like birds. Ahu's eyes suddenly sank. He's injured. Dai's voice suddenly came from beside him, and Ahu didn't know when she came here, but after more than a month of contact, Ahu and others also understood that Dai is also a powerful witch. Since she said that, she was absolutely right. Injured. Ahu frowned, and when he looked again, he found a clue. The big witch flying over from there was unstable and wobbly. As the opponent approached, he could vaguely see to a touch of blood red. The opponent was indeed injured. It's from the Raging Flame department. Butterfly said again. Master Kai. Ahu finally saw the opponent's face clearly, and couldn't help but exclaimed. This is Master Kai from the Fury department. I met him over a month ago at the bone-eating department stone fortress. As far as he knew, Lord Kai was a great wizard. Who could injure him? And judging from his current appearance, the situation is obviously not optimistic. His right arm has been lost, and blood gushes out, dyeing half of his body red. And judging from the wound, it didn't seem to be injured by a sharp weapon, but rather, as if it was torn apart with bare hands. As soon as he thought of this, Ahu felt cold all over. To be continued. This book comes from A&A-C1/2. Chapter 2833 The Arrival of the Witch King. Who can tear off the arm of a great wizard? Who is his enemy? In just a split second, Ahu made the most correct reaction, turned his head and rushed down and said, "Go call on you." As soon as the words came out of his mouth, he was stunned, because he found that Anyu had appeared behind him at some point, suspended in midair, looking forward with piercing eyes, and his face was abnormally stern. Kai, who flew over from a distance, had obviously noticed Yang Kai's existence, and at the same time his face showed a look of surprise. His figure suddenly paused, his eyes widened, showing a frightened expression, and then his whole body trembled violently, as if being pinched in the air by an invisible big hand. He couldn't move. His face was blue and purple, and he gritted his teeth and shouted, "Quick, run!" When the words fell, his body suddenly swelled up, the simple animal skin clothes were torn, the skin all over his body became transparent, and the blood vessels inside were clearly discernible. Clatter! When it swelled to the limit, Chi's whole body burst open, turned into a ball of blood and sprayed from the air, leaving no bones left. What? Many villagers in Kangnan village were taken aback. They didn't understand what happened at all. They took a few steps back in shock at Chi's miserable appearance. When I fixed my eyes again, a burly figure suddenly appeared in the place where Kai was. One feels the icy breath enveloping the entire Kangnan village. At this moment, the strange man who suddenly appeared was holding something in his hand, and he looked at Yang Kai with a smirk, while constantly gnawing on the food in his hand. Bone Eater, Ahu whispered. He could see the other party's identity from the unique pattern on the other party's face. It has long been heard that the Bone Eaters are a group of tribes that must take revenge. Before Aniu and the other two people wiped out a small tribe in the Bone Eaters, Ahu was a little worried that he would be retaliated by the Bone Eaters. He wanted to find time to suggest Aniu led everyone to migrate, but Aniu stayed in the house during this time and couldn't see him at all, so naturally there was no way to mention this matter to him. Now it seems that my worries are right. The people from the Bone Eater really came to take revenge. Moreover, the strength of this person is absolutely terrifying. After all, even Lord Kai, who is a great wizard, was killed by him. Can Aniu be his opponent? The villagers next to him also had serious expressions when they heard Ahu's voice. They had experienced the horror of the bone-eating department before. After seeing clearly what the big witch of the Bone Eater was holding in his hand, his face turned pale. Because it was a calf, and it looked like a child's calf, definitely not more than 5 years old, with thin skin and tender flesh. Every time the big witch at the Bone Eater bit it, he could tear off a large piece of flesh and blood. Chewing with relish, his appearance became more ferocious. Many villagers looked extremely uncomfortable, their stomachs rolled, and they felt like they were going to vomit. Yang Kai lowered his eyes slightly, glanced at the blood stains on the ground after his naked death, and sighed slightly. Although he didn't understand exactly what happened to Kai, he vaguely guessed a little bit. The big witch in the bone department probably did not kill Kai on purpose, but tortured and chased him on purpose, and found the location of Kangnan village. Can find reliable allies. But no matter what, there is only one possibility for the strength of the great wizard in front of him if he can play with the applause, the Witch King. I smelled your breath, the big witch of the Bone Eater suddenly said, looking at Yang Kai with burning eyes. It's on the side of the stone castle. Yang Kai sneered. I killed you. The big witch sneered. It's up to you. He obviously didn't think that Yang Kai had the ability to kill you. After the accident in Shibao, he went to investigate and used some methods to reproduce the battle that day. Although it was vague, it was enough for him to track down the murderer. He visited the Department of the Wind and the Department of Raging Flames one by one, destroyed the 2 small tribes, and killed everyone who participated in the stone castle that day. Only the last target made him unable to judge, as if something had deceived him. His investigation failed in the end, and he could only hang behind Kai, letting him lead him to find the murderer of that day. The plan was also very successful, and Kai Guo, who had nowhere to go, suddenly came to a strange place. When he smelled the breath of the last target, the Great Witch resolutely activated the dark hand left on his naked body and killed him. For the rest, just destroy this small village. The majesty of the Bone Eater is inviolable, and any enemy who dares to be stained with the blood of the Bone Eater will be retaliated thousands of times and 10,000 times. Do you think I don't have this ability? Yang Kai asked with a smile, and at the same time quietly sent a sound transmission to Dai, asking her to take the villagers to hide. Wang, he also has to go all out. Kangnan village can't take care of it at all, and if the villagers don't hide well, the power that Shan Yi will unleash is enough to knock them out of their wits. The big witch snorted coldly and declined to comment. You also thought I didn't have that ability, and then he died. Yang Kai chuckled. The big witch said condescendingly, you mean to say that my Wechi will also end up in the same way? Yang Kai shrugged his shoulders, but that attitude was undoubtedly acquiescence. Wu Kai stared blankly at Yang Kai for a while, and then burst out laughing. The laughter was thunderous, and it had a magical effect. Many villagers who were quietly evacuating were startled by the laughter, and their mouths and noses burst into laughter. Blood oozes. Only Yang Kai faced him directly, without moving like a mountain. As soon as the laughter subsided, Wu Kai frowned and looked at Yang Kai, and found that he was not pretending to be calm, but that he really had nothing to do, and now it was really strange. A mere great wizard, has some skills. Quote. He is the Witch King, even if he is a low-rank Witch King, he is still a Witch King. How can a great wizard be able to resist the laughter that urges his strength? But the other party stood there like an unchanging mountain, making his methods useless at all. While speaking, Wu Kai dropped his calf and stretched out his hand to pat his waist. When the witch power surged, there was a sound of howling ghosts and wolves, and the several skulls hanging on his waist actually inspired Shengen's aura. The green light flickered in the empty eyes, and they all flew out. If you dare to kill my bone-eating tribesmen, today the Japanese witches will turn you all into food. When Wu Kai roared, the flying skulls grew in the wind, and suddenly became the size of a house, scattered in all directions, and blocked the surroundings of the village. All of them sprayed a cold breath from their mouths. The place where the breath struck, the earth and the wooden house froze, and lost all vitality. In the blink of an eye, the village seemed to be reduced to a piece of burial ground, full of lifelessness. Fortunately, Yang Kai told Dai in secret before, and now the villagers have gathered in the center of the village and are preparing to retreat into the tunnel, so there are no casualties. This tunnel was excavated under the auspices of Dai. After being washed and looted by the Bone Eater last time, the appearance and existence of this tunnel is enough to ensure that there will be similar situations again, and the villagers can have a safe life. The exit channel. So when Dai put forward this suggestion, Ahu and others naturally spared no effort to cooperate. In a month's time, the tunnel has been opened to a hidden place 30 miles away, enough to pull out a safe buffer zone. However, the dead air spread extremely fast, and it would take time for more than 200 villagers to retreat. If they were not stopped, they would definitely not be able to evacuate safely. Fortunately, when those skulls moved, Yang Kai also moved. The figure swayed slightly, and suddenly appeared in front of a huge skull. Seeing this situation, Wu Kai couldn't help raising his brows, and said disdainfully, I'm looking for my own death. Those skulls are his witchcraft, they have been practiced for countless years, and they are more difficult than himself. If Yang Kai attacks his body at this time, he may have to spend a lot of effort to repel it, but this guy is so desperate to find trouble with his own witch weapon, he doesn't know what it means. While speaking, Wu Qi's thoughts moved slightly, and the emerald green light on the huge skull flashed wildly for a while, and then the cold breath from his mouth increased several times in an instant, completely enveloping Yang Kai. This cold and dead air is refined by collecting the grievances of those who were slaughtered and eaten by him. It is mysterious and powerful, not to mention that the other party is a great wizard. Even if someone who is also a witch king is sprayed, he will being haunted by evil spirits, his mind is shaken, and when that time really comes, he can play with the other party in the applause, and let him die as he wants. Wu Kai could almost foresee Yang Kai's end, nothing more than being frozen on the spot by the cold and death energy, and then his soul was taken away by the skull. However, a multicolored ray of light suddenly burst out from the strong cold and death energy. The power of the 5 elements in the ray of light interacts with each other, and the cycle is endless. It is like a mainstay in a torrential flood. Come driven. Wu Kai frowned, instinctively feeling a little unlikely. The other party is indeed just a great wizard, and should be a low-rank great wizard. It is completely unreasonable to be able to resist the power of his own witch weapon, but what he sees is beyond the scope of his understanding. Surrounded by the immortal five elements sword chi, the sound of scoffing was endless, and the cold and dead chi that was enough to make even the Witch King feel troublesome was blocked outside the body. Yang Kai held his sword high, his body surged with strength, and a group of rays of light suddenly shot up into the sky, as if he wanted to poke a hole in the sky. The next moment, he slashed at the skull with a sword, and the sword glow fell, as if it could divide the river and sea, and divide the cold and dead air into two distinct halves, and the huge sword glow slashed heavily on the skull. There was a sharp howl of ghosts and wolves, and the green ghost fire in the skull's eye sockets flickered violently for a few times, and was pushed away by a huge force. It kept rolling in the air, and the momentum remained undiminished. It was about to fly out of the sky. To be continued. This text is provided by the Dawn Update at CAA Cent.